Hi, welcome back. Glad you could join us today. I thought today we'd just do a painting. It's a lot of fun, very simple, and I think you'll enjoy it. So let's start out and have them run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with us at home, and they'll come across right about there. While they're doing that, let me show you what we got going up here. Today, I've taken contact paper and I've cut an oval out. And I've just taken the contact paper, stuck it on a blank canvas, and then we've taken black gesso and I've used a sponge and I've just tapped a little bit of this black gesso all over so it makes all these little patterns in here. We've allowed that to dry completely, and then on top of that I'm adding a mixture now of alizarin crimson and sap green. We mix those together in about equal parts to make a gorgeous brown color which is very transparent. And we're going to cover the entire canvas with this mixture of alizarin crimson and sap green, just like so. Oh, I think I forgot to mention, we did put a little bit of liquid clear on the black canvas just to make it nice and slick. It sure makes putting the paint on much, much easier. So we had the black gesso, then a little liquid clear, and then this mixture of crimson and sap green. And all we're looking for is just a nice, thin, even coat. The reason we put the liquid clear on here before we put the color on is because it will allow us to put a very thin, almost like a glaze on there, very thin coat of paint. I don't want a lot of color on the canvas, just a small amount. So that's the only reason. And that easy. We have it all finished. Now then, let me wash the old brush. If you've painted with us before, you know this is the fun part of this whole technique. And we wash our brushes with odorless paint thinner. We just shake off the excess and just beat the devil out of it. All right, now that we got a nice clean brush, let's start out today, and I'm going to take a little bit of titanium white, just a little white, like so. Put some on the 2-inch brush. Be right back. Get a little touch of the Indian yellow. It's a very transparent yellow. So we have titanium white and Indian yellow. And with that, I'm just going to quickly dance in a little background back here, and we'll just take it and sort of just begin making little movements with the corner of the brush. Something about like so. You have to make a big decision right off in this painting. This is going to be the lightest area in the painting. So we start there and we'll continually blend outward from that point. That way, automatically, that'll be the brightest area of the painting. Now the titanium white is an opaque color, but even there you can still see through that and see some of these gorgeous little shapes that you made with the sponge and the black gesso. Now I normally use a natural sponge. It seems to have better shapes. They're more varied than a man-made sponge. So you can pick those up at any art store, or if you happen to be in Tarpon Springs, you can stop by and pick one up right off the boats there. But most of us will get one at the art store. But a natural sponge, once again, has much, much nicer shapes to it. There. Now then, you can do this as many times as you want to achieve a desired lightness in here. I'm going to wash the brush. Actually, I just like to wash the brush. And I'm going to do that again. I want to make it a little bit brighter than it is. I just really like to get the cameraman over. He gives me a hard time sometimes. All right. Go right back into what you determined was your light area and start there and work outward. Always start in that light area and work outward. There. Just adding a little more paint to the brush. And I'm just spinning the brush using just the corner to make all kinds of little shapes. There we go. And they don't mean much at this point, but later on they'll come out to be gorgeous little things that are in the far distant back part of your painting. This is a very simple painting. This one I would recommend if it's your first or second painting. This is a good one. This is a good one when you're first starting. And this contact paper works very well. Since we've introduced the use of contact paper, it's almost become a standard now in the art industry. We see painters all over the country who are using contact paper to make all kinds of shapes, to make little cutouts that they put in their paintings. So give it a try. When I first started, I used to use frisket paper, which airbrush artists use. But it was very expensive, and it didn't stick very well. So that's the reason we went to contact paper. It's readily available. You can find it in any grocery store or hardware store. And it sticks better. All right, today let's have some fun with the old oval brush. I want to take the old oval brush, put a little white on it, and I'm going to go into this mixture of alizarin crimson and sap green. This is the same identical color that we covered the entire back of the canvas with. A little white to it just to make it a little bit lighter, and load this brush by just sort of giving it a little push. This oval brush has oval bristles on the end, sort of like a big filbert brush, only it's 1 inch across. All right, let's go up in here. Now then, let's begin working on some shapes and designs for some little background trees. This oval brush does just fantastic things for little background trees. There, and all you got to do is just begin tapping. See there? The brush will do most of the work. That's what's so fantastic about this thing. That's fantastic. Now then, maybe up in here, you have to make big decisions. Where does your little trees live? There. If they don't show up, make them just a little bit darker. But start out as light as you can to get them to show, and then we'll get darker as we work away from the light source. There we go. Just all kinds of little shapes. We're just looking for very basic little tree shapes. Now some of these little things in the black gesso you can see when the camera's up close will show through. And when friends and neighbors look at your painting, they'll say, gosh, how in the world did you get all that detail back here in the woods? And that's our secret. Shh. It'll happen automatically. All right. Now as we work back a little further, we can begin getting into darker color. Save your darkest color for the far edges. There we go. See, little things like that, they just begin happening. There. Now then, I tell you what, let me find a little liner brush, a little paint thinner. Let's put a few little indications of some branches and stems and trunks and limbs and all those things that live in a tree. Taking a little paint thinner, and we'll go into that same color, thin this down so it's very thin. Not quite ink consistency, but pretty close. Turn the bristles in there. That'll load very deep. And a liner brush has long bristles on it, so it holds a lot of paint. Okay, let's go up in here. Now then, we can take that, and let's just put the indication here and there and here of all kinds of little limbs and sticks and stuff that live up here. Just wherever you think they should be. Now, if you have trouble making it flow, then add just a tiny bit more of the paint thinner. There. In fact, I think I'll add a little more to my brush. There, see how much easier it goes now? But I don't want these to be very dark or very distinct. I want him to help create that illusion of distance in the painting, things that are far away. They're almost the same color as the background, just barely can see them. There, and you don't have to worry about painting the entire thing because there's leaves in front, and you're only going to see part of them in places. So, by not painting them, it helps create that illusion. And painting is nothing but games of illusion. There we go. Now then, we can go back to our little oval brush, and we'll put a few little things here and there and there and here. There we go. All right, now I'm going into almost the pure color. Time to start getting very dark as we work out here on the edges. The dark edges will help force the eye to go to the center of this painting. When people look at your painting, then they'll see this bright area. So you make very dark edges here. There, I'm into solid dark color now. Very dark. I want this to really get dark in here, because this is going to end up being some deep, dark shadows where all my little creatures live. Little bunny rabbits and squirrels. They all live back in here, and they just have a good time. So they need a place to hide. Now then, maybe up in here. Yep. I'm going to just drop in a few more. Wherever you think they should live. Isn't this oval brush neat? There. If you've ever had trouble making tree limbs and branches and all the gorgeous little hangy down things, this is the brush you've been looking for. There. Because it'll do it just about automatically. There we go. Maybe there's a big old limb lives right there. I don't know. It's your world. You make these big decisions wherever you want them. Okay. kinds of little things live in our world. I'm going to go back to some that has a little white in it, so it's a little bit lighter. Now, one a little darker than that. See, it didn't show up, so there, exactly. See there? You can just put all kinds of things. But already, this should begin having a lot of depth in it just because of the difference in value or tone of the color. See, it's very light back here. It gets darker, darker, darker. There. And we'll go back to our little liner brush. And we'll take some more of that color, a little bit of paint thinner. And let's just go right up in here. And let's put in another little tree trunk or two. You sort of look at your shapes now and you decide where there's a tree living. And in our world, yep, you're right. There lives one right there. Right there. I like to paint trees. They're a lot of fun. A lot of fun. And I have a natural inkling, as I say, to sort of paint trees and bushes, because that's where I really find peace and tranquility, is out in the woods with all the little animals and stuff. And I hunt with a camera. I go out and take pictures not only of the animals, but I take pictures of individual trees. And then you take all these different pictures and you can put them together and make your own composition. You can take a tree out of one photo, you can take a cloud out of another, a barn that you took here. They could be in totally different states, it doesn't matter. And you put them together and you make your own composition, and it's new and it's original and it's wonderful. I just want to show you how to make these things. What you make is totally up to you. Totally and completely. There we are. Just all kinds of little rascals that live in there. There. Okay. And let's go over on the other side and put a few over there. We don't want him left out. A little more of the paint thinner. And maybe there's a big old tree trunk that lives right there. There. Put some arms on him. And these arms just stretch right out here to get the light all they can. They want to come out and play in the sunshine. There. See there? But as I've mentioned before, when you're painting, just sort of make up little stories in your mind. It really helps, sort of helps put you in the mood, and it gives you ideas. And new ideas are really one of the hardest things there are in painting. I get a lot of ideas from photographs and sketches that people send me, especially my young friends. I have a lot of young friends across the country, and they send hundreds of letters with ideas and suggestions, and that's where a lot of these paintings stem from. So if you have an idea, drop me a line. Let me know what you'd like to see. And a lot of times if it's something that I can't paint, we'll go out and find somebody else who can. All right, let's have I think maybe in my world, there's going to be maybe we'll do a little bush that lives right there. Just sort of seems like a good place for a little bush. And we'll go back to our little liner brush with some paint thinner, a little bit of brown on it. And under here, then we'll put him some little legs so he can stand up. There. Now he's ready. He's ready. But you see how easy that is to make a fantastic background that's very effective? And when you show this to friends and relatives, they'll say, "You didn't paint that." And I've had people write and say they actually had their friends look real close at their painting and see if they could see the numbers hid under there, like it was a paint by number. There. Now then, I'm gonna put a little bush that lives right there. Just put in some nice dark, dark, dark color. This is a pure alizarin crimson and sap green. It's not diluted with white or anything else. This is pure color. Doesn't it make a gorgeous brown, though? I know. Sometimes you see things here. I'm going to dip the brush into a little bit of the liquid clear, go into a little titanium white, and it looks like there's a little Indian yellow in it, too. That's good. We'll just use what's there. Put a little bit of the liquid clear in there, only to make it a little bit thinner so it'll flow better. But see there? Both sides of the brush are loaded with color. Just really get in there and load it full. Let's go up in here. Now maybe in our world, let's see. There lives, yep, a little waterfall. He lives right there. Put a little touch more of the clear on my brush so it'll be a little smoother. I know. When you get to where you see things as you paint. In our waterfall, there lives a rock, a big old stone. He lives right out there. Take a little white, a little brown, mix it together, make a little highlight color. We'll use a little small edge of the knife, put a little touch of highlight on that stone. Go back and find our brush that's got the white with the liquid clear on it. And we'll come right along here and put water on that side of the stone. Isn't that neat? I like to do watery falls. Now with a clean 2-inch brush, I'm going to lift this upward. Lift it upward, like so, just sort of to bring it together, like that. Now a very neat way of making it look like there's little bubbles and foam happening down here. You can take just a clean dry fan brush, and I'm going to dip it in paint thinner and then shake off all the excess. Just give it a good hard shake. And then you flick that paint thinner right up here on the bottom of the waterfall. Paint thinner and liquid clear have a violent reaction, and it'll cause it to, looks like little bubbles in there. And it's neat. And when you first start doing this, use very little of the paint thinner. You can always add more, but it's hard to go back and take it off. And it'll look like little bubbles that are happening all down through there. Let's take a little bit more of that brown, and maybe in our world, we need to come right along in here, and we have to put something up here to contain this old waterfall. See there? Well, we have a big stone lives right there. Big stone. This painting, somebody here in the studio said, my gosh, you're going to paint a sepia tone painting. It looks almost like the old sepia tone photographs. Years ago, I used to teach photography, and we used to do the old photographs that were all done in brown tones, and this sort of looks like that. It uses a very limited palette, very few colors, and it's very simple to do. Here I'm just adding a little bit of that brown color. Now then, we'll take a little bit of that same brown, mix a little white with it, and we'll come back in here, and we'll just put a little highlight up here. Something about like so. Now with almost no color, I want to grab that and give it a downward pull. Just barely caressing the canvas. Barely touching it. If you've painted mountains with me before, this is about the same idea. That much pressure. Just barely touching the canvas. Yeah, maybe we'll brighten that a little bit. Put a little more white in it so it stands out and you can see it a little bit better. Ooh, that's nicer. That's nice. But this makes it look flat on top by doing this. There. Now back to our little oval brush. And we'll bring these little bushes here right down onto it. Tell you what, I got to mix up some more color. I ran out of color. Once again, alizarin crimson and sap green in about equal parts. This is a nice color because you can take it to the green side or to the red side. Just depends on your mood that particular day. Today I have it sort of neutral. It's sort of about half and half. Sometimes I'll mix it to the reddish side and other times to the green, depending on the mood that I want or the effect that we're looking for. Experiment a little bit. You'll find wonderful things you can do with this. Okay, back to my little oval brush. Just tap a little color into it. And let's go on up here and just put some little things that live right here on this little rock. It's right by the waterfall. And maybe down here at the bottom, there's some more big bushes and things that live all down through here. These won't show up much till we put a little touch of highlight on, and then you'll see them. All right, let's go on the other side. Maybe this bush, yep, he comes right out over the waterfall. Now, by having it in front of the waterfall, it has a tendency to push the waterfall back into the painting. It helps a great deal with that illusion of depth and distance in your painting. All right, let's have some fun. Clean, dry 2-inch brush, the least little touch of titanium white on it. Least little touch right on the corner, and I'm going to just tap and let it blend. Make it look like there's a little bit of mist way back here in the distance where that water's hitting. Just let it tap softly, very softly. And you blend it to however you want it. Now then, while we have that color going on this brush, I'll put a little more titanium white. Maybe there's a little river that comes in this waterfall. So just touch and pull straight down. Because that gorgeous brown color is already on the canvas, it'll mix with your white, and automatically that will happen. Automatically. You don't have to work at it or anything. And I'm lazy. I look for easy ways to do things. Okay, and we can just tap that together a little bit right in there. Something about like so. So we can't tell where the mist stops and the reflections start. There. Sometimes little misty things will float all up in here. Just use your imagination. A little sparkler right there. Just to make it sparkle. Now then. All right. I love these kind of little paintings. And as I say, even if you've never painted before, these little rascals you can do. These you can do. Very simple. And they're very effective. All right. Now then, same old dirty brush. I'm going to take a little touch of yellow ochre on it. Now this painting I want to keep very dark and very much into the brown tone. So just a little touch of yellow ochre mixed right on that dirty brush. Very little. Okay, let's go back up here. Now some of these darker ones, I'm going to put the least little touch of highlight. Once again, I'm not looking for very much. Very, very small amount. Just enough to separate some of these little bushes. There. See them? This little bit of highlight will just bring them apart. But think about individual bushes. Just don't throw this in at random and hope for the best. Think about little individuals here. There we go. There they are. These are a lot of fun to do. And they make fantastic gifts. Because, you know, people had much rather have something that you've visualized in your mind and you've made with your own hand than something you just went out and purchased. I have paintings that people gave me many, many years ago. And if they had just went out and bought some old thing and give it to me, I would have probably have discarded it by now. But the paintings are very special. And I'll probably have them as long as I live. There we go. There. And maybe up here in this big tree, very little though. I don't want to lose this darkness. To me, this darkness is what makes this painting very nice. But when you do yours, if you want it a little brighter, please, please feel free to make it any way that makes you happy. Because that's what painting is all about. It should make you feel good about yourself and about the world. Make you appreciate all of God's wonderful creations, but just enjoy it. There. Let's take a little bit of this brown, and let's come in here, and let's make a little land area, just something for all this to sit on. Maybe something about like that. A little bit over here on the other side, too. So it looks like there's maybe just a little river here that we don't know where it goes. Don't know that we really care. It goes off into another painting, and we'll do it on another show. There we are. Just a little touch of highlight. Once again, keep it quite dark. Quite dark. Now then, take a liner brush. And here and there and there, and we'll take just a little bit of this lighter brown color and put the indication of some little twigs and sticks in here. Where it's very dark, you may have to use a lighter color so it stands out. Okay, let's go over here on the other side, and we need a couple over here. Don't have to have too many, just a few. Oh, there's one, there's one. You just sort of see them. Look at your painting, because every painting will be different. Each one will be a total individual. Now then, we can take a little bit of the liquid white, put it right on that liner brush, and we can just put the indication here and there, some little water lines that live out in here. Just little things like so. Don't want too much. Just a few little nice things. There. Shoot. That worked out pretty nice. I tell you what, let's pull the old contact paper off here and see what we have, because that's That's the moment of truth, and that's the fun. So we'll just pull it off. And look at that. Isn't that a gorgeous little painting? Then you can just take it and you can look around and see if there's any area that you need to add a few little things. I think there would be a couple little sticks and twigs right in here. Because in the woods you always have all these little critters that live in there. And it creates that illusion of depth in your painting, and people will think you've worked for many hours putting all this detail in. Shh, that's our secret. That's our secret. All right. Let's see here. Sometimes I like to grab a little of this and pull it over so it looks like old roots and stuff that are just sort of hanging over the bank. Take a little of that, because they're always there. Just let them hang down, just a few here and there. I tell you what, I think we have a finished painting here. I'm going to take a little bit of since I don't have bright red, I'll use a little crimson today, thin the paint down like ink. I think we're ready to sign this one. Let's come right up in here. Hope you can see that. It's very dark. And we'll just put a little signature on there. There, I have a very short name, so it only takes a second. I hope you've enjoyed this one. It's a fantastic little painting that you can do. And until next time, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend. Hi, I'm certainly glad you could join us today. I thought today we'd paint the little painting that you see in the opening. So I tell you what, let's start out and have them run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint the little painting with me. While they're doing that, let me show you what I got up here. The way the little painting was made, we started with a plain, ordinary canvas, just a pre-stretched double prime canvas. I took a little bit of white gesso and mixed yellow acrylic with it, cadmium yellow acrylic with it, and painted the entire canvas. Allowed that to dry completely. Then I took a sponge and some black gesso and just daubed all this, just everywhere. Just use a sponge. I like a natural sponge because it has more shape to it than a man-made sponge. After that was completely dry, then we've covered the entire canvas with just a very thin coat of liquid clear. And down here on the bottom I took a little Indian yellow, which is a transparent yellow, and put down here because that particular painting has sort of a yellow cast throughout the entire painting. So I put the Indian yellow down here at the base just so that yellow cast in that painting continues throughout. So let's get started. Let me show you how we did that. We're going to start out with the old 2-inch brush and a very, very small amount of the phthalo blue. Just a little bit of blue. When you're using clear with nothing in the background, it takes very, very little color. Okay, let's go right up here to the canvas. And we'll just take a little bit of that blue color and just begin dropping it right on here. Now it'll sort of have a little greenish tint to it because there's yellow underneath. But if you had wet yellow underneath, you would have brilliant, bright green, and we don't want that. Don't want that. We're gonna just let that bounce around here and play like so. As I mentioned in one of the earlier shows, we've had so many people write and say, show us some things that you can do with this liquid clear. We devoted a lot of the paintings in this particular series to liquid clear. There we go. See, that easy. I don't want to kill all these nice areas in here. I'm going to allow some of that yellow gesso to show through when the painting is complete. I'm going to go into a small amount of the alizarin crimson. And we'll just dance a little of that in here, just using little X's. Once again, there is very, very little paint on the brush. About as close to no paint as you can be. Just enough to sort of stain the canvas. And the colors that we're using here are very, very transparent, so it allows that acrylic color underneath to show through. And acrylic paint blends very well with white gesso. You can make any color background you want. It doesn't have to be yellow or red, or it can be any color your mind can imagine. So practice a little bit and just experiment and play. You'll find wonderful things that happen doing this. All right. Something about like that. Maybe a little touch more of that blue. I like that blue color in there. We'll just bring it right on down in here somewhere. Okay. Now then, I'll just go right into a very small amount of the titanium white. Don't need much. Now, the titanium white, let's go right up here, is very opaque. In other words, you can't see through it. But if you put it on thin enough, you can still make out all these little details through it. But this will be our light area in this painting. This is where our light's just zinging from. There. And it'll give a nice, soft, almost a misty appearance. Very, very pleasant. And this works so easy, even if you've never painted before. This, again, is one of those effects that you can make very easy. I'm just going to put a little bit here and there so it looks like little misty areas that are playing in the woods when we're all done. This is a soft painting, very soft. Maybe we'll go on the other side and put just a wee bit over here too. We don't want that left out. There we go. Something about like that. And really and truly, that's basically about all that we have in this background. That's really about all we have. It's that simple. But you can see there's areas here that's the pure acrylic that are showing right through. And there's areas that have more opaque color on them, and they look very misty and very soft. Isn't that a fantastic way of making a background that, ooh, if you're out selling paintings, and of course none of us are interested in that happy buck, but if you're out selling paintings, these son of a guns here will sell like hotcakes. All right. Now then, let's have some little sparkly bushes that live way back here in the distance. For that, I'll just keep using the same old dirty brush. Take a little cad yellow, a little bit of yellow ochre, a little Indian yellow here and there. Just tapping a little into the bristles. There, that's some gorgeous close-ups we're getting there, isn't it? You can really see how that brush is being loaded. Let's go back up here. Now then, we come right down here, and I just want some indications of some pretty little sparklers that live back here in the background. There, just some little sparklers. Maybe there's another one that lives right about there. Not looking for a great deal of detail. Not looking for a lot of detail, just a little. And when this is done, it'll look like the light's zinging right through there and creating some gorgeous effects on some of these little bushes. There's a nice bright one. It'll really show up. Of course, we get carried away sometime and cover up a lot of them, so it may disappear or it may not. We don't know. We don't care. I'm going to the other side here, maybe put one or two over here. Something about like that. Now, since in this particular instance I have an idea of exactly where this painting's going, I know most of that's going to be covered up, so I'm not going to put a lot of effort into it. Okay, now the fun part of this whole technique. Let's wash the old brush. Shake it off. And just beat the devil out. That really is the fun part of this. Now then, let's start with some nice background things. I'm going to make a brown color by using about equal amounts of alizarin crimson and sap green. These two colors mixed together make a gorgeous, gorgeous brown. And you can take it to the red side or the green side, just depending on your mood or how you feel about the painting or whatever. Either way, you make the big decision. Let me clean the old knife off here. We just wipe the knife on a paper towel. No big deal. Take a little bit of that color. I'm going to load it the same way. Just tap right into it. See there? Just tap. Okay, let's go up here. Now then, we'll have a few happy little bushes that live back in here. Isn't that a gorgeous brown color? But we're going to play dark against light, light against dark, continually throughout this painting. That's really what makes it work. Ooh, there's an area that has a little more crimson than green. Isn't that gorgeous? Right in there. Hope that shows up when you're set. There. Okay. See? But it's nice just to use this old 2-inch brush. Sometimes we're afraid of this brush because it's so big. But it'll do wonderful things for you. Just allow it to do it. Allow it to work for you. Okay, a little bit more of that color, and maybe, oh yeah, we'll have one that lives right there. See how you can create all those little illusions? There, and these are far away. They're in the background, so we're not worried about a lot of detail yet. As we get closer in the painting, then we'll be concerned about detail and being able to count every leaf on the tree. But back here, we just want indications. Now then, I want to create the illusion of another layer. Let me grab another brush. I have several of them going here. We'll take a little white with just the least little touch of yellow ochre in it. And I'm just going to tap a little color. I want to create a light area at the base of this. Something like so. Knock off the excess paint, and then we'll blend that right in. All I'm looking for is this misty area. The rest of it, we're not concerned with at this point. That light area will be your separator when we put another layer in here. So take care of that little light area. It's your good friend. It'll do wonderful things for you in the painting. There we go. Okay. See, if you can tap a brush, you can do this. That's all there is to it. Going back to my old dirty brush, we'll go right into, we'll just use some midnight black. Load it the same way. Just tap. Just tap it, like so. You can see up close there, we get a lot of comments about what the brush is. Why does it look like that? We tape the brush furrows to keep them from shining when the studio lights. But other than that, they're the same identical brushes that you're using. This is just black. It's just a little bit of duct tape we put around there. Otherwise, they would shine and cause big glares, and you know, it wouldn't look good on your TV. That's the only reason we do that. Okay, see there? Now we have another layer. But you see how that little light area is your separator? Without that, it would have a tendency to blend together more. And we don't want that. We want it to separate so you can tell there's different planes in your painting. There we go, maybe. Shoot, why not? Just wherever. Maybe this one goes all the way up here. I don't know. Just sort of let your imagination take you wherever you want to be. Because this piece of canvas, as you've heard me say a million times, truly is your world. Grab a little liner brush. Let's take a little bit of that nice brown color we made. We're going to put a little paint thinner in it. We're going to thin that paint down till it's, well, it's not quite ink consistency, but it's very thin. Okay, let's go up here. With that, let's put in the indication here and there and there and here of some little sticks and twigs and all the little things that live in the woods. And they're all out in here. There, because you always have these out in the woods. Just gobs of them sometime. Lots of them. Lots and lots of them. There we go. And one of the questions I hear, is it better to pull down and make little sticks and twigs or go up? It really is up to you. Try it both ways. See which works the best for you. And that's the way that's exactly right. Because painting is a very individual pastime. Everybody does it different. And everybody enjoys it for different reasons. There. I enjoy it. I think it's my escape from reality. I can go in here and I can really, literally create any kind of world that I want. There's tranquility and peace in my world. There's never any violence. I have all my little animal friends. They all live right here with me. All right. Now then, that's coming along pretty good. Let's just take a little white, a little bit of that brown that we made. Ooh, that's pretty. There, maybe a little bit darker. Yeah, that's nice. Very nice. Cut off a little roll of paint. See there? Let's go up here. Now you have to start making some decisions. Where does your land live? Maybe right along in here. So just take the knife, decide where it lives, lay it in. Lay it in wherever you want it to be. There we go. As I say, I think these kind of little paintings with the liquid clear are so much fun, and they're so effective. So effective. And they're easy to do. Now I'm just going to take a clean knife and just sort of fuzz up the edges here a little bit. Just, I don't know exactly what you would call it, other than just fuzzing it up. I just want a soft edge here. I don't want that hard edge. And you can just take the knife and just sort of rub it. And it'll create that illusion. Sometimes it comes out looking like little bushes and stuff that are far away, and you haven't hardly done a thing. There. See there? And by not overmixing the paint, you get these variations. Don't overmix your color. Most of the time we leave it sort of marbled. Sort of marbled. And that way these happy accidents happen continually. Continually. And then you learn to use these accidents to create beautiful, beautiful paintings. Because, as you know, we don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents every once in a while. Maybe it comes on back up in here. Now this will not be an exact duplicate of the little painting you see at the beginning of the show, but it'll show you how it was made. I like that little opening where you sneak behind the tree. Isn't that fantastic? That was created by a very good friend of mine that works here at the station by the name of Jerry Morton. Him and a lot of the other engineers put a lot of time into making that little rascal. So I hope you enjoy it. There. Okay. Well, you know me. I like big trees, so I think it's time to make our big tree. I think I'll use the filbert today because I want paint that's very thick on the canvas. We'll go into the Van Dyke Brown and Dark Sienna. I'm just sort of going to gob a lot of it right on the bristles. Let's go up in here. Major decision time. Where does your tree live? I think our tree does now. It lives right along here. And I'm putting the paint on very thick. Very, very thick, because I'm going to put highlights on there, and I'm going to depend on this thickness to catch the highlights. So don't be afraid to use a lot of color. There, see there? There's a lot of paint there. So we have areas in this particular painting that are so thin, there's nothing there hardly except liquid clear over acrylic color. I'm going to have a limb right here. And then we have other areas that could be up to like 1/8 of an inch thick. And I like that in a painting. Very much, very much. Let's give him another big old arm over here. And you can make him crookedy and have all kinds of character. Don't just make old straight tree. Shoot. If you do that, the lumberjacks will come along and whack him down and make a telephone pole out of him. We want a tree here that has character. Gnarly old tree. It's had a hard life. Things weren't always good out here in the woods. There were some years that they didn't get much water, and maybe when he was little, a big old creature came along and gnawed on him a little bit. Just make up little stories so it makes sense why your tree looks the way it does. There. See, we'll put a big old foot out here for him to stand on. There we go. We'll give him another arm or two. Maybe he's got an arm out here. Now I'm just going to put a few on here. When you're doing this at home, you can put as many arms on your tree as you want. I just want to show you how they're made. This little filbert brush still works very good for doing things like this. There we go. See there? Now, but that paint is so thick on there. As I say, in some areas, it's probably a good 1/8 of an inch thick. It has bumps and ridges on it, and when it dries, you can actually feel the bark. All right. Now, I'm gonna take the little script liner brush, put a little of my brown color over there. Ooh. Want some variation. Script liner brush and a paint thinner. Going to get quite a bit of thinner because I know I'm going to use several different strokes here. But we want to fill the bristles full of color. Fill them full of color, and the paint is very thin. But see, there's a lot of color in those bristles. And this is a liner brush has very long bristles, so it holds a lot. Let's go up here. Now then, delicate touch. All we're going to do is just barely touch the edge of this and allow the paint to be picked up on those areas that are very thick. That's why we use the filbert brush rather than a fan brush or something to do this. I want it to be very thick so that just those ridges of paint pick it up. You can make some of the most gorgeous looking bark like this on trees. See there? See how these little areas, oh, we'll push that limb into the back by just coming distinctly through with that one. Now see, he's behind. Didn't know you had that kind of power, did you? All right, it's just barely touching. Just let the bristles graze it. Graze it. I really do think this is one of the neatest ways I've ever seen of putting all kinds of gorgeous little things in there. Like him. Okay, and over here on this side, we'll just put a few little things. A little more paint thinner, a little more color. If you have trouble making it come off your brush, just add a little more paint thinner, that's all. If you don't get all these ridges and bumps, it means that your undercolor was not thick enough and you don't have all those variations under there. Now you can sit and try to draw these. It'll take you forever. Or you can just do it this way and it just works like that. Isn't that neat? And as I say, when this thing is dry, you can feel this and it'll feel like real bark on a real tree. Maybe an old tree that you used to know. Might have lived in your yard one time. Might have been your good friend. There's nothing wrong with having a tree for a friend. There we go. Come right on out wherever you want it. Something like so. Maybe a little bit right in here. Okay. And if you really want to sparkle it on the edges, just here and there, don't overdo. You can just take a little bit of light color. See there? Look at that. Look at that. Oh, I'm sorry, I get excited sometimes. I've painted thousands and thousands of paintings, and I still get excited when this works. It's so fantastic. All right. That'll show you how it's done. Okay? Now then, while I got the old paint thinner going, we'll go right into a little bit of this nice brown color we made from crimson and sap green. And let's just put some little arms here and there on this. See, just let it flow. There. As I say this, I like these woodsy scenes because this is a fantastic place for all my little creatures to live. I got to show you one of my little creatures. Here recently, I had the privilege of going out and seeing a fantastic lady named Carmen Shaw, and she had a little baby fox. And she told me if you look in the dictionary under cute, it would say baby fox. Isn't this the most precious thing you've ever seen? I'm just putting limbs on while you're watching that. Not doing anything that you won't see. But I love these little animals. And Carmen, there she is. She brought a little raccoon over to visit the little fox. This is just a baby raccoon. Of course, he's a little older than the fox. Oops, hey. I think maybe there's a little personality conflict there. But aren't those precious little things? I have to agree with Carmen. When they made the word cute, they had that little fox in mind. There is no doubt, because they are absolutely precious. I think that one's 6 or 8 weeks old. Carmen's a super lady. She lives right outside of Orlando, Florida. And she's a rehab specialist. She takes care of all these little animals that are injured and orphaned, and she nurses them back to health or raises them up, whatever they need, and then she turns them loose, lets them go back to nature. Okay. Now then, let's take, I want a little tree in the background. I'm going to take the old 2-inch brush, a little bit of brown, a little bit of bright red, a little more bright red, a little yellow ochre, mix them together, a little more bright red. I like that. Let's go right up here. Now over this dark area in our world, we're going to put us a nice tree, but we're going to let some of that show through. There. Just a big tree that lives up here, has a good time. There we go. We'll take the little liner brush, some of that brown color. Let's put the indication of a trunk and a stick and a twig that lived in there. There, just however many, doesn't matter. Now then, use that same old dirty brush. It's working pretty good. We'll go back into some light color. This is cad yellow, just to give it a little highlight. Maybe I'll get a little white, put that in there with it. There. Okay, now then, let's go right up in here and let's drop a few little highlights on there. There we go. That easy. We got us a pretty nice little tree. It lives back here. There, he watches my little fox back here. Let's take some white, a little bit of that brown we made, and just come right along in here. And we'll put in some more little land area. Notice I'm not covering all this up. I want some of that dark to show through. Tell you what, let's take a little bit of our brown we made from the crimson and the green. Let's put some more little bushes that live right here. Just a few little happy bushes live right in there. There. All right. Big old bush lives right there. Go right into the black. So we have a little separator in there. See there? That's all there is to it. Now then, while I have it going, I'm going to touch just a little bit of the color, a little bit, just to put some indications. Don't want much. A few indications of highlight here and there. I'm going to take my old filbert, put a little brown on it. Light brown on one side, dark on the other. Maybe there's an old fence lives, yep, right there. Yep. Now this guy, he took care of his fence about like I do. He didn't do too good. It's falling down on him. And it just comes right on down. Maybe like that. Maybe like that. Maybe there's one old rail that's still trying to hang on there. Like so. Put a little bit more of the color right in here to indicate some soil, dirt, land, whatever you want to call it. There. Oh, I know. Where we got that going. Shoot. Let's put a little more right in there. Just helps give it a little more depth. Back into our black. That was just the brown made from the crimson and green. There we go. There. Take a little more of that and we can sort of bring that together. Looks sort of like a little road now. Goes back in there. We don't know where it goes. Don't know that we even care. It's just a nice little place back in there. Take our liner brush, a little bit of light brown. We can flip up a few little weeds and sticks and things that live all in there. Something about like that. Wherever you want them. This is one painting that I really hope you'll give it a try because I think you'll find it to be one of the most enjoyable little things using this liquid clear that you've ever done. And it works. That may be one of the greatest parts of it. Little highlight right here. It works so easy. The clear and the black gesso will just it'll make your painting world so much easier. Well, I think we about have a finished painting. I want to take a little bit of the bright red, a little paint thinner, and I'm going to sign this one. I have a short name, so it's very easy to sign it. As I say, I hope you try this, but if you have time, send me a photograph of your attempt. I'd love to see it. And from all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend. Hi, welcome back. I'm certainly glad you could join us today. Thought today we'd just do a fantastic little painting. It'll just make you feel good in here. So let's start out and have run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with us. And they'll come across right about there. See them? Okay, let's go up here. Today I just have a plain old white pre-stretched double prime canvas and I've covered it with a very thin even coat of liquid white. So it's all wet and it's slick and it's all ready to go. And so let's just do a fantastic little painting together. I thought maybe today we'd just start with the old 2-inch brush, a little phthalo blue, and just load a little color right into the bristles, like so, just a little. We don't need a whole bunch. It's easy to add more color, but sometimes it's a son of a gun to try to take it off. Okay, let's go right up here. We'll start right at the top of the canvas and we'll make little X's, little crisscross strokes. Something about like so. And if you start at the top of the canvas, work all the way across, and then begin working downward in layers, it'll it'll mix with the liquid white that's on the canvas, and automatically, it'll get lighter in value as you work down toward the horizon. And that's exactly what we're looking for. And the little crisscross strokes will give you little actions that are happening in the sky. So it's not just a flat old dead sky. Has some character to it. There we go. Something about like that. Whatever. Doesn't much matter. We'll bring it right on down to about there. Okay. Now maybe I'll just add a touch of alizarin crimson right on that old brush with the blue. Just a little though. I don't want much. Just a little. And I'm going to start down here and just put a little lavender hue. Sort of lavender color. And then we'll let that sort of work upward, because I want that lavender color to be down here. But it's not very strong. It's just enough that you know it's there. Now, sometimes in paintings, it's nice to take and make the corners of the painting much darker. And that way, when you look at the painting, your eye is automatically drawn toward the center. There we go. So we'll just take a little of the midnight black, and we'll just put a little bit in the corners, just like so. And then we'll blend that right in. Something about like that. Sometimes I use a little Prussian blue. Let's use a little Prussian blue. In fact, what the heck? We'll mix that right in there with the black. Prussian blue is much darker and stronger, and it just blends right in. It'll make the top of this painting and the corners a little bit darker. There. And it also helps create that illusion of depth and distance in your painting. And that's what we're looking for. That's what we're looking for. All right. Now then, down here. Tell you what, we have to decide what we're going to paint today. I tell you what, let's do. I live in Florida, and in Florida we have a lot of gorgeous, gorgeous swamps. That's where a lot of my little creatures live. So let's do a little swamp scene today that's very simple. And if you've never painted a swamp scene, this is one you can do. This is a nice one. I want to take a little bit of that phthalo blue, a little alizarin crimson. I'm just mixing them on the brush. I think I'll make a little more of that lavender color. Let's go right up in here. If we're going to make a swamp, let's make one that's colorful. It's pretty. Make you feel good just to look at it. There we go. And we'll just pull this straight across, pulling from the outside in. Something about like that. I think I'll leave a little area open right here so it'll look like a sheen of light, and maybe we'll come back and put a bright color in there. Something that'll just sparkle a little. Same thing here. I want to make these corners a little darker than the rest of the painting. And already your eyes should automatically be going to right in here. Let's wash the old brush. If you've painted with me before, you know this is the fun part of this whole technique. There. Shake off the excess. And just cover everybody around you. If you do this at home, there's a thing made called a brush beater rack that you put down in a little garbage can, and you shake the brush inside of the can and then beat the devil out of this little rack. And I tell you right now, it'll save you a happy home and your marriage and all that. Because if you do that in your living room, chances are your spouse is going to kill you right on the spot. I'm going to take a little pink. I'm going to put a little bit of alizarin crimson right in that little area. Right in there. Something about like that. And that'll give us some nice base colors for what we're looking for. And maybe in our world, there live some happy little clouds. Use a little fan brush today. Take some white. I'll be right back. I'm going to get a little, there. Whoops, maybe a little more. A little touch of the bright red. I want to put a little pink sparkle in these clouds. Load a lot of color in the brush. Okay, let's go up in here. Now, have to decide where your little clouds live. In our world, I think one lives, yeah, you're right, right there. There he is. Little rascal just runs around and has fun all day. I like clouds. They're very free. Very free. There. We'll give him a little more right there. We just let him go wherever you want him to go. It doesn't matter. There we go. There we go. A little touch more of the bright red, because I want this to have a little pink flavor to it. Ooh, maybe that's too much pink flavor. We'll just dull him down. That's all there is to it. Just add a little more white, dulling down a little. And we just sort of let that wander off wherever. I think I'll put some big trees back here. We'll probably cover up half of these, so we're not too worried about them. Not too worried about them. If you've never seen a swamp, they're most interesting. There are so many fantastic creatures live in a swamp. It's sort of the start of the whole ecosystem. That's where all your little creatures come from. So we have to preserve some of the swamps. There. As I say, I live in Florida. We have some of the most gorgeous swamps there. There we go. And there's a lot of swamps all the way up into Georgia and Louisiana, all through there. Beautiful, beautiful areas. And there's so much wildlife in one of these. Every so often I drive down to the Everglades and just go out and look at all the little alligators and the birds and the egrets and all kinds of little creatures that live out in there. There. See, isn't that easy? We've got the indication of a little cloudy area that lives way back in there. Shoot, that's a lot of fun. Let's wash the old brush. I just like to wash the brush. I got a cameraman that gives me a hard time. This is the way I get even with him. All right. Well, I got another one dirty here, but we won't wash it. I'll just take a little crimson, pick up a little Prussian blue. Going to make a lavender color toward the blue side. You can make it toward the red side or the blue side. Today I'm going to make it toward the blue side. Let's go right up in here. I'm just going to put some little indications of some little trees that live way back in the distance here. They're a little clump. These are going to be cypress trees, and they grow in clumps. There. So we'll just put in some basic little shapes, like so. Don't want a lot of detail because these are too far away. Too much detail would ruin the illusion of distance. Something about like that. There we go. Just using the corner of the brush and just tapping in some very basic little shapes. Maybe we'll do a big cypress tree. Yeah, let's do a big cypress tree in the foreground. And we'll put some detail in those. Right out here, though, these are ones that are far away. We're not looking for detail in them. Take a little yellow ochre, a little Indian yellow. We'll just come back in there. That makes a green with what we've got on there. Sort of a greenish, but just the indication of a few highlights here and there. This is sort of separates the individual trees. There we go. There we are. All kinds of little things. There's little creatures live all out here. In the last show, we showed a little baby fox. I wonder if you got to see him. He's so precious. There. Something about like that. I'm going to take my little liner brush, little script liner. And we'll use that same old lavender color. It doesn't much matter. Thin the paint down with paint thinner. Okay, let's go right up in here. And we'll put the indication here and there and there and here of some little trunks. These are far away. We're not worried about much detail. Here and there we can put an arm, but don't put a bunch of detail. It'll ruin the illusion of distance. Ruin that illusion. That's what makes your painting special. There. Maybe. Yep, you're right. You're right, wherever you want them. Okay. Now we can we use a fan brush for a while. Get an old fan brush, I'll use that same color, alizarin crimson, Prussian blue, mix them together, make a lavender to the blue side. Lavender to the blue side. We'll use that. I'm pushing upward, giving it an upward push with a brush. Pushing pretty firmly. I want to bend that rascal. Bend it. Just something like that. Shoot, maybe over in here. Maybe there's some little trees back in here too. I want to put some back here. This may show through a little. That'll help create that illusion of more trees back over in there. Just in case some of it shows. I'm going to put a big tree right there. I know that already. I can feel a big tree coming. If you've painted with me before, you know I really like those old big trees. So invariably before we're finished, we're going to have a big tree here. Take a little sap green, a little yellow, mix them together. Make a nice green color, maybe a little yellow ochre too. Ooh, that's nice. Let's go up here. And just take that. We'll begin putting in a little indication of some bushes and weeds that grow way back in here. Some old swampy things. There they come. A little bit more right in here. Maybe like that. It doesn't much matter. Doesn't much matter. I'm going to take another fan brush. Put a little bit of phthalo blue and white on the brush. And maybe right in here, just to give it a little cool area. Just want to put a little blue right in here. Very little, very little. Just cool it down a little. Whew, like that. All right. Now, it looks like something that's far, far away back. Let's take the old brush here that's got the lavender on it. And let's just begin pulling some of that color down. There, see, straight down, straight down. I'm going to make the indication of a nice reflection back in there. Straight down. All right. Now, very lightly, just go across. That'll help create that illusion of reflections in your water. Now let's take a little liquid white and put a little bit of the phthalo blue in it. Just to sparkle it up a little. It's a pretty color. Cut across, just like so. See? Pull it out flat and cut across. Gives you a little bit of paint right out of the edge of the knife, okay? Then you can go up here with that little bit of paint and you can just begin cutting in a little water line. Something about like that. There. Now normally swamp water is not real deep. There are exceptions to that, but most of the time swamp water is pretty shallow. Pretty shallow, so I don't want to make this look real deep. And it looks, swamp water looks blackish, unclean, but it's really, as I mentioned earlier, it's where the whole ecosystem starts. It's right there. So the swamps are very, very important. We really need to preserve some of them. There. Okay. Now we can start having some fun. Let's find an old filbert brush. I think we'll take the old filbert and go into a little bit of Van Dyke brown, a little dark sienna, just mix them up. It doesn't much matter. Maybe back here there's an old, let's go right up in here. Maybe there's an old cypress tree that maybe it's a tired old tree. And cypress trees normally down toward the base are very fat. Big old fat trees, sort of funny looking. Maybe he's got a friend right here. And you have what's called cypress knees. They call them cypress knees. They're just little protrusions that come up of cypress out of the water. So we'll draw one of those here too. Okay, we take a little bit of white, a little brown on it, and maybe our light's going to come from that, so we'll highlight that side a little bit. There we go. Right over in there. We'll come back with a liner brush and work on that a little more later. But right now, that's good enough. Good enough. Let's take a little black, little Prussian blue, brown, crimson, all the good dark colors, a little sap green, put them all together, mix them up on the fan brush, make a good dark color. And we'll just pop in a little area right here so we can have like maybe a little grass is growing right around this rascal. Maybe it's just growing right around like that. Take that same old brush, we'll go right into the yellow. Because there's blue in there, we'll get green. And we can just pop in some indications of little grassy areas that live all down in here. Take our 2-inch brush, pull downward, create a little reflection. There. Okay, back to our liquid white on the knife. And we can put a water line right around that. Right around there. Isn't that fun? I like doing little swamp scenes. Of course, I like to go out in the swamp and just watch the creatures out there, the little animals and everything. They're a lot of fun. Big old alligators are where I live. Some big old alligators. When I was just a child, I used to have an alligator for a pet. I worked for, years and years ago, I worked for a store one year at Christmas. And instead of paying me money, I was only about 10 years old, they gave me several exotic pets, and one of them was an alligator, and he was only about a foot long when they gave him to me. I'll never forget, I took that rascal home, and I wasn't real popular with my mother when I dumped him out in the living room floor out of a big old bag. But she let me keep him, and I kept him for probably about a year and a half, and he grew to probably close to 2.5, 3 feet long. But he got mean. I don't think you can ever make a pet out of an alligator. So I took him down to one of the local lakes and turned him loose. I won't make a big tree. And chances are he's still there today. Shoot, by now he's probably huge. He's probably scaring swimmers to death. All right. I'm using the filbert brush because I want this paint to be very thick. Very, very thick. I'm going to put a lot of paint on there because I'm going to come back and use that thick paint to catch the highlight color. There we go. Once again, you got all these little things that grow down here around his foots. And they're not always straight. Sometimes they're crooked and gnarly, and I guess that's a word. They have all kind of little shapes. Shoot, maybe there's one that came up out there. All right. Here's another one. Just Van Dyke Brown, dark sienna mixed together. Very thick. Very, very thick. And I like this filbert brush for that. Okay, you know. I have to have a big tree. Have to have a old big tree. There he comes. Big old tree. And it doesn't really matter much how you put this on. As long as you have a basic shape. We're going to come back and put all the highlights and all the things that make it sparkle in there. Right now we're just looking for texture on the canvas. Let's have 2 trees. What the heck? I like these old big trees. Well, I'm glad we put that back here. Some of it is showing through. I wasn't sure if it would or not. You just sort of see these scenes in your mind, and you don't know exactly how they're going to come out. And that's all right. You don't mind. Cypress trees sort of grow in clumps. So we're going to have a bunch of trees, all different ages and sizes, some of them big, some little. Shoot, maybe they just go right on off the canvas here. Here's one right here. Oh, big one. He just lives right along here. We'll separate all these with highlights. Right now all we're doing, once again, just blocking it in with a lot of color. Let them get very, very big at the bottom, though. Big at the bottom. There we go. Something like that. And while we have that color on there, we'll just pull a little bit down, because we're going to pull that down and make a reflection out of it. So it doesn't matter. Just scrub a little in there. Take your big brush, decide what you want to be reflections, pull it down. Because we don't make mistakes. We don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents. See there? Now then, let's take our script liner brush. I'm going to take a little white, a little dark sienna, mix them together. Something about like so. Put a little lizard crimson in there too, just to give it a little warm flavor. A lot of paint thinner. We're going to thin this paint down till it's almost the consistency of ink. Be right back. There. So you can see it running right there on the palette. Okay, let's go up here. Now with this liner brush, we said our light was, things are going to be highlighted on the right, so just take the liner brush and just let the edge of it, just the edge of it. I'm holding it almost flat, almost perpendicular there to the canvas or whatever. Just let it graze. This is where you separate all your beautiful trees. Let it graze. Just barely, barely touching. And it'll look like real bark. There, a little more paint thinner. There, and there's a big one hiding right in here. All we got to do is pull him out. There he comes, there he comes. He's in there. He's in there. There. They use cypress wood to make panelings, and they use the logs to make log cabins. There we go. A little bit over in here. Now at home, you have unlimited time, and you can really take your time and put a lot of detail here. You can make it a lot nicer than this one. Here, I just want to show you how. Just show you how. Something like so. That one we'll have behind there. A little bit in here. We got to put some nice leaves on these yet. We can take a little bit of blue and white and put the indication of a little reflected light over on this side just to make a shadow. There we go. Something like so. There. And you can even take, even though you don't see one there, you can just pull out a little knee, a little cypress knee right in there just by doing that. See, now he stands out. Okay, let's grab us a fan brush. We're gonna take some black, Prussian blue, sap green, good dark color. We got to put some leaves on our tree. Okay, let's go up in here and decide where our old tree lives. Boy, he lives right up here at the top of the canvas. He's got big old arms that stick out everywhere. Here comes one. There they go. We're just really using a lot of pressure. There, pushing it in. Just push it right in. Okay. There. These are fun old trees to paint. And sometimes the top of the tree is naked, and down here will be a few little limbs. They just grow any old way, makes them happy. Shoot, there they come right across there. And if you're really brave, it's your bravery test. Maybe there's a few that grow right down there. Who knows? It's up to you. Wherever you think they should be. Something like that. Something like that. We can take our liner brush, a little bit of the brown color, and maybe there's a big old limb that comes right down, so that has something to set on. Look at there. Something about like that. One here, wherever. Not too many, but a few old limbs hanging around. All right. We'll just wipe off the excess paint and use that same brush that had the dark color on it. Go right into our yellow and yellow ochre, Indian yellow. Just mix them all together. And instantly we have green. So let's go back and put a few highlights up here on these. Just a few little highlights. Think about shape and form, though. Don't just hit that rascal at random. Think where you're going. It's like taking a trip. You need to know your destination. Same here. I met some drivers on the road that they have no destination. Bet you've met some of those too. There we go. Something like so. See there? But that easy. It gives an indication of a lot of nice little leaves and stuff that live down here. Okay, take some more of our dark color. The blue, the black, the sap green. Put a little dark down here at his foots. There we are. A lot of times these little grassy areas grow around their foots. Maybe there's another one right in here. Who knows? Wherever you want them. A little bit of our green. Just pop in some little highlights in all these areas. Something about like that. Okay, a little more for here. Don't want that one left out. There we go. Take our knife, a little bit of that liquid white with a little color in it. Put the indication of a little water line. It sort of cleans up the bottom of all of this, brings it all together. gives borders to it. There. Something like so. And sometimes if you're really brave, maybe you can put a little bird sitting right here. We'll take and scrape out some of this excess color. It's really better if you wait until the thing is dry. And then you can put him on easy. We'll just take a little liquid white, put the indication here of maybe a little egret that sits right out here. Something about like that. I would really suggest you wait till your painting's dry. Take a little orange, put him a little beak on there, a couple little legs. And it sort of gives an indication of a little bird that lives out there. We'll put him an eyeball in there and call him finished. With that, I think we're going to call this one done. I really hope you've enjoyed this painting. From all of us, we'd like to wish you happy painting. God bless, my friend.
This program is brought to you by a grant from Northlight Books, publisher of over 200 how-to books and videos for fine artists and graphic designers, and by the Martin F. Weber Company, manufacturers of a wide range of fine artist materials and exclusive U.S. distributor of Watman watercolor and printmaking papers.
Hi, I'm glad you could join us today. I thought today we'd just do a fantastic little painting that's very easy, and I think you'll enjoy it. So let's start out and have them run all the colors right across the screen there that you'll need to paint along with us. While they're doing that, let me show you what I've got done up here already. I have my standard old pre-stretched double prime canvas, and I've taken a little bit of black gesso and just actually used a paper towel here and just sort of put in a basic shape. You can use a paper towel or a sponge or a foam brush, works well. I thought maybe today we'd have a little river that's coming around here, and I want to show the indication of little stones under the water. So I took a little bit of white gesso and black gesso and mixed it together to make a nice gray gesso, an old filbert brush, and I just made the indication here of a lot of little stones, just very quickly, blah, 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 blah. Let all that dry completely. Then we've covered all the dark area here, all across the bottom with liquid clear. The top, we put a little bit of liquid white on like we normally would. But the big thing is here, let the black gesso dry completely. All this dry completely before you put the clear and the white on. That's the reason we had to do it before the show started. And with that, let's take our old 2-inch brush, go right into the phthalo blue, and let's just put a happy little sky in this painting. We'll just put a little blue in the brush, go right up here, and just begin making little crisscross strokes. Let's just make a gorgeous little painting out of this. One that'll just make you feel good. Maybe we'll have some big clouds in the sky. So I tell you what, let's just leave some areas open here where maybe the old clouds will live. There. I don't know exactly where they'll be, but somewhere in here. So we'll just leave some open areas, some holes in the sky. Something about like that. A little more color. And let's go right over in here, put a little bit right in there. Between those, there's going to be some big trees in here. Now then, I'm going to take a little bit of the midnight black, a little Prussian blue. I'm going to just darken the corners here a little bit. Just to make it a little more attractive when it's finished. Okay, over in the other corner, we'll do the same thing. Something about like that, and that's really all we need. Now then, very gently here, I'll just sort of blend this together to get rid of any harsh edges. Then we'll come back and we'll put in some clouds. There we are. Okay. Now then, the most fun part of all. Let's wash the old brush. I like to wash this brush. It's a lot of fun. There we go. Shake off the excess. And just beat the devil out of it. There. Now then, I'm going to go into a very small amount of the alizarin crimson. Just a very small amount. I want these clouds to have a little pinkish hue to them. So we'll take a little of that crimson, go right up in here, and very lightly in this area, I'm just going to put a little crimson, just so it'll show through when we put the clouds in. There. Something about like that. Okay. Now then. Shoot, we'll just use that old big brush. It's working pretty good for us. We'll tap in a little titanium white, and let's start up in here and just begin putting in some basic cloud shapes. Just titanium white. That's all we're using here, because we already had some crimson on the brush. We have blue and crimson already on the canvas, and it's continually going to mix. So automatically you're going to get all kinds of little variations anyway. There. We'll just sort of blend that layer out. Blend out the base of them. Fluff them a little bit, just a little, and very lightly, just go over them. Just to sort of blend them all together. Go back into our white, and maybe there's another little layer here. But work on one layer of clouds at a time. Don't get greedy. Sometimes it gets working good and it feels good and you just get carried away. Do one little layer at a time. Now then, let's take that one. Just blend it out here on the bottom. Just blend it out, then we'll fluff it a little bit. There. And see, there's a little separation between them. A little bit more white, maybe. Yep. Right there we have just another happy little cloud. They just float around here and have a good time all day. Good time. There we go. I think you're going to enjoy this painting. The black gesso and then the use of some colored gessos and liquid clear makes beautiful, beautiful effects. We've tried to devote a large part of this series to showing that, because I'd had so many cards and letters from people asking about it. So I think you're going to enjoy this one. I have some good ideas here. We'll just see if we can pull them off. There. Maybe the little cloud just floats right along in here. I don't know where he lives, but we have a huge big cloud that lives in our world already. Shoot, maybe there's a little over in here too, you can see. Maybe he's just a little soft cloud. Now then, I'm going to fluff that, and very lightly, 3 hairs and some air, just blend the entire canvas. Isn't that easy? We got some pretty good old clouds there. Some of the edges you can just fuzz them out and let them just float around, because you don't always see the entire cloud. It just sort of gets soft and just sort of floats around. There. Now then, shoot, let's have some fun. Maybe back here in the background, take some black, blue, little brown, little crimson, Prussian blue. Now, I don't want this to be very dark, so I'm going to take some white and mix in there. I'm going to paint a little mountain. I think it lives way back in the distance, far away. I want just a color about like that. Our little roll of paint. Then let's go up in here and decide, maybe we have a little mountain. Yep, lives right in there. Just wherever you want him to live. Put a little bump here and a little bump there. Here bump, there bump. Wherever you want them. There. These are far, far away mountains. So we don't want them to get too big or too bright. They're far away. Far away. Then we take our old 2-inch brush, just like we normally do when we paint mountains, and just pull that down. Just pull it down like so. Something about like that. Okay. Let's take a little bit of the titanium white, pull it out as flat as we can get it. Really get tough with it. And go down. There we go. Cut across. You get that little roll of paint. You want to do that again so you can see it? Pull it out flat. Just cut across. See that little roll of paint? Lives right out on the edge of the knife. That's all there is to it. Flat, cut across. Okay. Then with that, let's put some nice little highlights and shadows on here. All kinds of little things. This is just a little baby mountain. Lives way back here in the distance. A little bit right in there, wherever you want them. See there? No pressure. Absolutely no pressure, though. Just pretend you're a whisper floating through there, just barely caressing the mountain. Take a little blue and white. Little blue and white. Mix it together. Cut off our little roll of paint again. Then we can go up in here and we can just begin laying in the indication of all kinds of little shadows. Live way back here. There we go. Maybe this one comes right on through. Push that other one right back into the distance. There we go. A little bit of shadow in there. So you can just sneak right in, put it in. Give the indication of a little mountain that lives there. There. You can add all kinds of little details. Don't want too many details though, because we want these mountains to be far away. Put too much detail in them, they'll begin to look too close to you. We don't want that. We want to keep them back here in the distance. Stay back, mountains. There. Now, take a clean, very dry, 2-inch brush. And just tap the base of it. I want to create mist down here at the base. So it'll be far away. Far away. There we go. See, he lives way back in the distance back here now. Now then, let's take... I work pretty good. We just keep going here. We take a little crimson, a little white, a little bit of phthalo blue. Gonna make sort of a lavendery color. We use a 2-inch brush. Just tap a little of that right in there and then push it. See, just give it, shove it. Like that. Okay, let's go up in here. And with that, maybe back here there lives a little footy hill. Just a little foothill way back in the distance. Just tap. Put in a basic shape. Then I'm going to, using very short little strokes, lift upward. Make it look like little distant trees far away. Far away. They live way back here. A little more of the same colors put together because I want another one, and we're going to make it a little darker. That way it'll indicate that it's closer to us. In a landscape, as you know, as things get closer to us, they get darker in value. So we'll use the same color, only darker. And maybe, yep, you're right. I like to put several layers sometimes in these little foothills because it helps with that illusion of distance again. And I think it's so important in a painting. There. Now we just push that mountain back another 5 miles maybe. We don't know. But it lives way back here now, far away. Far away. Isn't it neat that you can push mountains around? You can do that. You can do that. All right. Maybe we'll put some nice trees right in here. And for that, let's use, clean off a spot to work. Black, Prussian blue, alizarin crimson, phthalo green. I like phthalo green in trees sometimes. There we go. Nice dark color. Let me wipe off the old knife. And maybe today let's use the old fan brush. What the heck? Load a lot of color in there. A lot of paint. We're going to put, maybe there's some evergreens that live right here. You have to make a big determination. Some of them are about that tall, some are short, some are big, some are little. There we go. A little mountain reminds me we were in Mexico City here a while back, and there was gorgeous mountains around Mexico City. Popo and all kinds of mountains. They are gorgeous. And until I went there, I never realized Mexico had so many mountains. And, you know, our program is playing in Mexico and many, many other foreign countries now. And I want to share with you some of our instructors there and some of the fantastic things they're doing. I've got a couple of photographs here. First of all, let me show you this. They took us out on a boat to the floating gardens to paint the floating gardens, and this was Bob here getting ready to go out on a beautiful boat. They had really decorated it nice, and it's a lot of fun out there. And here's Annette with some of her instructors, and that fuzzy-haired guy thanks me, and good-looking gal there on the right is Lulu, and the other young lady's a good friend of mine. Her father works with us. There. I'm just putting in little trees while you watch this. Here's Annette with some of her instructors. We have certified instructors in Mexico now that they're doing gorgeous paintings. Just gorgeous. And they can really paint. Annette has really done a fantastic job working with them. And now they're sharing the joy of painting with many, many people all over Mexico. And we really thank them for that. It's a lot of fun. There. I'm going to get to go to Mexico again very soon and spend some time with some of the most fantastic friends. There. See there? But we're just putting in all kinds of little trees. That also helps give the illusion that those mountains live much farther back. We just keep pushing things farther and farther back in this painting. There we go. There. See there? But all we're doing here is just tapping downward, real easy. Sometimes you can pick out a little tree or two and just give it a little sideward pull. It makes it look like little limbs sticking out. I wouldn't do it to all of them because they're too far away. Too far away, and you'll ruin that illusion of distance. But a few here and there makes it sort of interesting. All right. Now then. Okay, let's have some fun. Let me find a clean brush. There's one. I got several old brushes going, so I don't have to spend every minute of my time just washing brushes, because it's the fun part. Take a little bit of phthalo blue here. Now then, let's take this phthalo blue. It's very transparent, and paint right over the top, because we have liquid clear here, so it's slick and wet, and we can do that. Let's paint right over the top of the water. Watch what happens. Watch what happens. Isn't that fantastic? All of a sudden, we can see through the water. We can see right through the water. But you have to use a transparent paint. And phthalo blue, Prussian blue, both are very transparent. There we go. See there? Isn't that sneaky? I used to work so hard to try to create the illusion of rocks and stones underwater. Now, we put a few ripples on here, it'll look even better. But that easy. That's really all you have to do. All you have to do. Okay. Boy, that's a gorgeous looking little stream. I might take at least a little touch of phthalo green too and add in there. Okay. Now then, maybe in our world, wipe off the old fan brush here. It's got some of that dark tree color, and I'm going to yellow. And maybe in our world here, we have a little bit of nice green little grassy areas that grow back here. Okay, so let's go up in here. And we can do that by just deciding where they live and giving a little upward push. Little upward push. And it goes way back in here. Like that, see? And you can lift it upward if you want to make it look like little bushy things here and there. Just all kinds of little things. And in your world, you create any kind of illusion that you want. Any kind of illusion that you want. Nice little grassy areas here. See there? There they come. That easy, though. Okay. Now maybe we have a little dark sienna, a little white, and with that we'll make a little brown color, maybe a little more of the dark sienna in there. Yeah. Let's come in here, put the indication of some land right under this. See there? That easy. Maybe it goes way back in here somewhere. I don't know where it goes. This little stream or river, it meanders way back in there. We don't know where it goes. Don't know that we even care. Let's take a little liquid white here, I'm going to take a least little touch of phthalo blue and put in it, just enough to give it a little bluish tone. Not much. Not much, though. Just enough to flavor it good. Cut across, get our little bit of paint right on the edge of the knife. And then let's go up in here and begin putting some water lines right over the top of this transparent water that we made. There. Okay. And maybe this comes out through here. But we can still see through the water. Can see right through it. Shoot, I bet if you look close there, there's a big old trout just floating right down the river. Taking life easy and enjoying it. That certainly is a pretty place to live, I'll tell you that. All right, now then, let's go back to our nice dark color. And we'll have, I'm just putting a little dark paint on there because I'm going to put some light color on top of it. And I want it to stand out. And I want it to mix with that dark color. Don't have to do much because the black gesso's there. I just want enough paint on there so it mixes with the color we're going to put on top. Something like that. Don't even matter if you cover it good. Something about like that. Let me just try that same old brush. We'll go right into the yellow, little sap green, little yellow ochre. There. See all those colors. Now then, just give it a little tap. See, you're just pushing that paint. Push it. That loads a little bit of paint right on the edge of the brush. Now we can go up here with that and just touch. We can begin putting all kinds of little grassy areas that live back in here. Just by touching. And the more you tap on this, the more it's going to mix with that color that's underneath. That's the reason we put it under there. And it'll get darker and darker and darker. There, see? Now, that's the area. This is going to be a big tree right here. That's the area behind the tree. Now we can take some dark color, and we have to make our first major decision in the tree business. Where does our big old tree live? Well, we put some black gesso up here so we know basically where it's going to be. There. And I don't cover all those black gesso things. See, there's some of them showing through over here. And when the painting's all done, people will actually see foliage that's behind the tree. And they'll go crazy trying to figure out how you did that. And that's our secret. There we go. That's our secret. But you can share it with everybody if you like. That may be the most fun of painting is when you share it with other people. I get letters every day from people that have started painting from watching this show, and they did a painting for a friend or a relative and let them watch them do the painting, and the friends, they absolutely, if they hadn't seen it, could not believe that they're doing it. And they are. In our newsletter, we just showed the picture of a lady who's in her 90s, who's painting now. And she's doing a fantastic job. This is just a little brown and white. Just want to put the indication here and there and here, wherever, of a few little trunks. I'm going to put some leaves on here, and we're probably going to lose most of those. But if some of them show through, that's wonderful. All right. I'll dip the little oval brush right into some liquid white. We'll go into little cad yellow, little sap green, yellow ochre, Indian yellow, all those colors. Push that little brush to load it. Give it a little push. Okay, let's go up in here. Now let's put some gorgeous little leaves up here. This little oval brush does some of the neatest leaves. They just literally just almost fall off your brush. There they go. Something about like that. But think about shape and form. Don't just throw them on at random. I know I say that every time I use any brush to do leaves, but that's so important. Think about shape and form. Gotta give this old tree some character. There. Down here we let him get darker and darker and darker. We need those dark shadows down at the bottom to give him depth. There. A little bit over in here. But doesn't that make some beautiful shapes for your trees? And it almost happens automatically. Almost automatic. A little oval brush is really neat. Shoot, let me find the old brush we were making some grassy areas with, and we'll just start bringing them right on down. These are in front there. So there we are. Just keep on coming down with those. And you can really practice a little with this, and you can make grass. It looks like velvet nearly laying up there. Maybe in our world, this is a nice little bush that lives right here under the tree. So we'll put some nice leaves on him, just using the corner of the old 2-inch brush. It doesn't matter. Whatever brush makes you happy. There. Now then, a little bit more of the dark color. I see another bush lives right there. Once again, I want to leave some of that black gesso behind there and let it show through. Because that'll make it look real neat. Back to our little oval brush, put a few little highlights on that little baby tree there. Little baby tree. But he'll grow up to be a big tree. He just needs a lot of water and sunshine, love, affection. Same as all of us. There. Something about like so. Back to our brush, it has some nice little color on it here, and we'll just continue on making all kind of little grassy areas. I know what we need. Take a little brown. We need some dirt out here. So we just use a little brown here and there. A little brown and white for some touch of highlight. I don't want a lot of highlight on this, maybe just a little. Don't want to distract from the water. The water is what's important in this painting. Just a little. There we go. There. See, something like so. Just keep tapping that in there. Okay. And as I say, the more you tap this, the softer it'll become. It'll get so neat. There. Just layer after layer after layer. Wherever you think it should live. Bring some right down in here. All right. Let me wash this old oval brush. I'm going to take and go shake off the excess. Go right through some Van Dyke brown with it. Get it loaded with color. And then the other side, a little more paint thinner on. Needs to be thin. Take a little white and brown on the other side. Maybe even a little black on the dark side. So one side we have full of light color. The other we have full of dark. And let's just go right up in here, and maybe there's some big rocks that live around here. See them? You can make them in one stroke. A little black, brown, a little white. Put these little stones and rocks wherever you think they should live. Something like so. Wherever. Okay. A little bit of liquid white. Put a little water line right around these stones. Look at there. Isn't that neat though? Try this idea with putting rocks underwater and just see what kind of things that you can come up with. You'll be amazed at what'll happen with just a little bit of practice. Do it with all colors of different colors under here with gesso and little acrylic paint. And I think you'll be very satisfied with the effect that you get. Okay. Scratch a few sticks and twigs here and there. I think we're about to a finished painting. Hope you like this one. It's a little different than anything we've done before. Give you a whole new idea to work with. And from all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting. And God bless, my friend. Hi, welcome back. Certainly glad you could join us today. I thought today maybe we'd do a very nice little seascape. I've got a lot of letters from people asking me for a simple little seascape that anyone can do. So I thought we'd do that today. Let's start out and have them run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with us. While they're doing that, let me show you what I've got done up here. For this, I have my standard old canvas. I use an 18 by 24 inch pre-stretched double prime canvas, but you use whatever size you want. I took a piece of contact paper and cut an oval out. Now, to cut the oval out, you can use something like an X-Acto knife or a pair of scissors. It doesn't matter. Stuck the oval onto the canvas, covered the inside with black gesso. Just totally covered it with black gesso. Allowed that to dry completely. Now on top of that, on the sky up here, I've taken Prussian blue and black. I think I'll make a stormy looking sea today, so I want something very dark and very moody. Just Prussian blue and black, and covered the entire top. On the bottom, I've used a little bit of black, sap green, and Prussian blue. So on the bottom, I just put a little bit of sap green. Otherwise, it's the same as the top. So you could do the whole thing, add a little sap green at the bottom, just to give it a little watery feel. And with that, let's just start off and have some fun. Take off today with the old 2-inch brush and a little bit, just a small amount of titanium white. We don't need much paint. Not much, just a little. Just old titanium white. And let's go right up in here. And now with that, let's just put in some basic little cloud things that are happening up here. And I'm just using the corner of the brush and just making like little X's. Just sort of let the brush play and just have fun up here. See, it takes very little paint though, very little, because we have the color underneath. When you touch it with white, that color comes alive. Just absolutely comes alive. There. And we just sort of have to think and make up in our mind where does our big old clouds live? These are big old fluffy, big old tough clouds, storm clouds maybe. And we just sort of dance them in here and there and here, wherever you think they should be. There. See, it's very, very easy to do this. Very easy. Maybe there's another big old cloud that lives right here. You can tap in a few, use just the corner making X's. Any way that you sort of get an effect that you're looking for. There. Then we're going to come back and we're going to blend all of these. So even these areas that are very dark will end up with a little bit of paint in them. This black canvases are so fantastic because it allows you to make effects that, they're almost unreal, and they're easy to do. Very easy to do. There we go. And maybe a little color right in here. Now then, let me wash the old brush. If you've painted with me before. You know, that's really the fun part of this whole technique, is just washing the brush. So we'll scrub the old brush with odorless paint thinner. Shake off the excess. And just beat the devil out of it. Now, be sure your brush is as dry as you can get it. And then we can go up here and very lightly just begin blending this. Now you can blend it to any degree of darkness that you want. In other words, the more that you blend it, it's going to mix with the color that's already on the canvas, and it'll get darker and darker and darker. And you can always go back and add a little more of the white, and we may do that just to highlight some of the clouds. So don't worry about it. As you know, we don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents sometimes. And by that, we just mean that very soon you begin to be able to work with anything that happens, and you can turn it into something that's exciting and wonderful. There's nothing bad that happens on this canvas. The absolute worst thing that could happen is that you take the paint off that you put on, reuse the canvas, and do the painting over. But even then, you've still learned, and any time that you learn from practice, it's not wasted. All right, I just use the same old brush. I want to add a little more white. I think we're going to brighten up our clouds a little. And as I say, in your world, you make them as bright or as dull as you want them. It's up to you. Up to you, depending on the mood that you want. There. Just the corner of the brush and just little tiny things like that. See there? For the purposes of TV, I think maybe we'll make them a little bit brighter so you can see them better. But maybe when you do yours, you just want very quiet, little gentle clouds. I have several brushes here. I'm going to grab another one that's nice and clean and dry so I can just blend that out a little. There we go. Maybe. Yep, you're right. We'll do this one here a little bit too. But this is one of the simplest, easiest ways that I have ever found to make very effective little clouds. And it works. That's what's so important. works. There. But just think about little things that are floating around here in the clouds and just put them in. Just put them in. I'm going back to the clean brush. Like that. And very lightly, just blend it a little. Just blend it a little. I don't want to blend it too much. Don't want it to go away. There. And you can do this, as I say, as many times as you desire. Some people want clouds that are very distinct. That's easy to do. You just do this as many times as you want till it gets there. Till it gets to where you want it. Boy, that's a mean looking old cloud there. That's one of them old clouds that'll bring you a thunderstorm in a heartbeat. All right. I live in Florida right close to Mickey Mouse's house, and we have a lot of thunderstorms sometimes. Especially in the summer. There's a period there where almost every day we have a fantastic thunderstorm. I sort of like them because it has a beautiful sound to it. And when it's over, everything is clean and fresh and beautiful again. It's like God sort of washes the whole landscape. There. Okay. With that easy, we have a pretty nice little sky. Some nice clouds, no problem at all. And as I say, even if you've never painted, this is one that you can do. Now here, I had just a piece of old masking tape because it helps me have a nice straight line across there. That's the only reason I have it on there. So we'll just take it off, and we have a very straight horizon now. And with that, we can begin to really play. Let me wash the brush. It's been a while. Just like to wash it. There we go. We're in business now. Now then, where we had that piece of tape, might need to add just a little bit of color. So we'll take a little sap green, a little black and blue. And we'll just bring that color right up there, something like that. I know you probably can't see that, because I can't either. But we know now that there's paint all the way up to that line. All right. Now then, let's use the old filbert brush a little bit. Put a little bit of titanium white on it. And let's just sort of lay out our basic wave shape. This is one of the easiest ways that I've ever found to sort of lay out your wave so you know where it's going to go. Just take a little paint, because it doesn't matter. Anything you don't like, you can just wipe it out and lay out a basic wave shape here. Maybe the old wave comes over like that, goes off, and back in here, there's another old wave, wherever you want them. And back in here, we'll just have little ones. See, and that wave will crash over in that direction. Does that help? We just sort of put a little line in there so it helps you see how the water is going to go. But that easy. Now then, wash the old filbert brush up. I'm going to grab, maybe today I'll use a number 3 fan brush. Sometimes I use a 3, sometimes a 6, whatever happens to be available. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Now then, a little bit of white paint on it. Pick up a little touch of blue and put in there. There. All right. Now then, let's start way back in here and just touch. And let me exaggerate. I'm doing a rocking motion. Think about water. Do-do, do-do, do, like that. Now I'm really exaggerating because I'm doing it very small. Something about like so. See there? And automatically, that'll begin to create the illusion of little things that are happening back there. All right. Now, if this is going to be our wave, just take and go zoop, right across like that. There. And while we have paint on the brush, we'll bring this right on down, over, like that. All right. Now then, wipe all the excess paint you can get off the brush. Or you could even wash it and start with a fresh brush. Now then, I want to take this color that we put right on the edge here and begin blending it back very gently, very lightly. Just begin blending it back. Trying to preserve a dark area right in there. Just trying to preserve that. That's your good friend. See there? And those dark areas will end up being your waves. come. Something about like that. And we'll come back with the liner brush and we'll put all kinds of little details in there. But this is just an extremely, extremely simple way of making a very effective little wave. Very effective. Because seascapes sometimes can give you a little problem or two. They're not the easiest thing in the world to paint. So we try to simplify it to where anybody can do it, even on their first attempt. I'm going to take a little of the cad yellow, a little bit of white, just mix it on the filbert brush right there, like that. Okay, let's go up in here. Now, everybody likes to have this wave where the light's coming through. Some people call that the eye of the wave. So we'll take this and scrub it in. Just really get in there and scrub it in. Just really work it. Let it just get darker and darker, darker as it works out like that. Okay, that's really about all there is to it. And you can make this as bright as you want it, the same as you did the clouds, by just cleaning the brush, going back and adding more and more color. Now then, we'll take a very clean, dry brush, and using just the tippy top bristles, I'm just going to wiggle it. I'm really wiggling the handle more than I am the bristles. See, the handle's going around, but the bristles stay right there. Can you see that good? There. And that's all we're doing. And you can turn this into, it's so smooth, it's almost unbelievable. And then just work outward. Outward. There. I don't want this to get too bright in this particular painting, because in my world I think this is sort of like a storm coming. It's getting pretty rough out here. So there wouldn't be a great deal of light coming through here. But if you want to have more, please feel free to do it. We're not trying to teach you to copy here. We're only trying to teach you a technique and turn you loose on the world. Because as I've said before, we all see nature through different eyes, and we all have different interpretations of what things look like. And that may truly be the joy of painting, is that you do your thing. You paint your world the way that you see it and the way that you want it on canvas. There, because art is a very, very individual thing. We all have different ideas of what we want. And they're all good. There's no good or bad. It's just, does it make you happy? I have still the number 3 fan brush since it was handy and dirty. Load it with a white paint. Now then, this is the fun part. Let's think about the water just crashing over. Make little sounds. Just make little sounds. See? There. There it comes. Just think about how it crashes over. This old wave has traveled a long way, and it finally got here at the shore, and now it's crashing over. It's going to create a lot of foam. Makes a beautiful sound. Beautiful sound. There. Something about like that is all we need for now. Now we'll take a filbert brush and take a little bit of black, a little bit of the Prussian blue, and a touch of white. There we go. So I'm making sort of put some alizarin crimson there too. I want that to be more of that's nice, more of a lavender type color. But lavender to the blue side. Okay, let's go up in here. Now then, we'll take this brush and let's put the shadow. We're putting the shadow in first for the foam. There it comes. Oh, water's turning and crashing and churning, and boy, it's just having a ball back here. There. All right. I have 2 filbert brushes going here, so I can sort of work back and forth without having to stop and clean them each time. They're not as much fun to clean as the big brushes, so we'll have a couple of them. Something about like that. Now then, we can go right up to the top of that shadow, and we can put the indication in here of some nice foam. Each time you load your brush, wipe it off, get it nice and clean, or at least wipe off the excess paint. Then go back and reload it. There. Wiping it. A little bit more paint. Then we can come back with fresh paint and just keep right on splashing here. Just sort of tapers off into nothing. Shoot, we got that. Maybe back in here, some little splashes that are happening. This is pretty rough water, so we need some little doers that are going on back in here. Who knows? Who knows? Maybe there's even a little bit in here. Not as much, not as strong, because we want the center of interest to still be in here. There. Now, good dry 2-inch brush, or you could use a 1-inch brush for this if you're a little more comfortable with it. Makes no difference. And once again, we want to blend this together so it's as soft as silk. Just like so. There. Something about like it. And I beat the brush just to knock off excess paint. And sometimes in our world, we'll take a little Van Dyke brown, a little bit of the dark sienna, maybe even a little black, mix them together. Maybe in our world, way back in the background, let's go up here. Maybe there's a little headland up here. You know, just a little projection of land that comes out into the water. Something about like so. It's very dark, it's very far away, but we can still make it out back here. And take a little bit of white and put in there to make a little highlight. Same color, I'm just adding a little white to it. So here and there we can see just a little indication of things that are going on. There. Like that. Now we have to wash the old brush. Go back to our white paint, pick up a little, and now I'm going to just splash a little water right up here on this headland. There, something about like so. Maybe you can even see a little here and there. See, it's really splashing right there. Maybe there's some big rocks in the water, we don't know. Just makes it very interesting and very pretty. Now then, going back to the old filbert. I like the old filbert today. It doesn't matter, you can use anything. And we can begin putting in the indication here of all kinds of little foam patterns, and this water's churning pretty hard here, so we're going to have a lot of little things that are going on. There. Now this is where you really bring your little seascape together. All of these little things that are happening. There we go. As I say, this is a very, very simple little seascape. This is one I'd recommend when you first start. And as you work farther and farther, you can do seascapes that, my gosh, you won't even believe. But this is a good way to get started, to get a feel for it. Just to get a feel for it. There we go. We have so many fantastic people all over the country that are painting. They're painting scenes that they never believed possible. And maybe more interesting is their family and friends didn't believe they could ever do it. That's nice when I've got letters from young friends' mothers that said, my son or daughter is painting, and they're doing paintings that I can't hardly believe, and they've never had any lessons other than watching the show on television. And from that, they become very interested in art. They begin to experience a little success. And as you probably know, nothing in the world breeds success like success. So if you have a few good experiences with painting, then you sort of get hooked on it. So try these paintings that aren't too difficult at first. Become comfortable with them, and then as you become comfortable, go into more difficult things. I've taken a little bit of paint thinner, mixed it with some titanium white and a little bit of the Prussian blue. Have the liner brush, very thin paint. Fill the bristles full. Let's go up in here. Now we can come back and begin putting the icing on the cake. You can just put all these little things in here. This is what gives your painting character. It looks like a lot of detail in it. And if you have time, you can sit and do this and make all kinds of gorgeous effects. Gorgeous, gorgeous effects. And this is really what will make your seascape special. Very, very special. There. See there? Just little things that are happening where the water's splashing and playing and having fun. But we're using that same stroke, sort of a rocking stroke. Now you have sort of a weird angle here, and it looks a little strange. But it'll look right for you. By the weird angle, I mean the camera gives it a little angle. This looks a little higher than it really is. All right. And we can bring things all down through here, put details in the water. There. As you paint more and more seascapes, spend more time studying foam patterns. That may be the hardest part of painting seascapes. These little foam patterns here, though, are what make or break a seascape. These are just dropped in very easily. But as you paint more, you'll want to put more and more detail into them. There we go. You can get carried away with this and just make some of the most gorgeous scenes. There. Maybe something about like that. Sometimes it's nice to take the least little touch of that white we had with a little bit of yellow in it, thin it down with a little paint thinner. And you can come back and just highlight this, just to make it sparkle a little. Don't overdo. This is too dark of a painting for this to be real bright. Now then, also another thing that can be done that's very easy, find old filbert here that's half clean. You can take that dark color, some blue and black, a little green, and you can come back up in here with the filbert and you can literally just punch holes in the foam. See? You can just punch holes in it wherever you think it should be. So it looks like there's openings in there. So if you get a little more foam pattern here than you want, just go back and punch a hole here and there. That's all. That's all. No big deal. As I said earlier, we don't make mistakes. We just have happy accidents. Now then, I'm going to take the contact paper off and let's see what we have here. So this is the moment of truth. So let's just grab it, pull it off. Zoop. And that doesn't make too bad of a little seascape for your first time, or if you're just beginning to paint. It's a nice little seascape. But you know me, I don't ever leave well enough alone. So tell you what, let's do. Let's take a little black, a little bit of the Van Dyke brown, mix it together here. And maybe in our world, shoot, that's too nice to leave alone. I got to have a big tree that lives right there. Be brave. This is your bravery test. After you've worked so hard to create a beautiful little seascape, then this crazy guy tells you to drag a tree right through it. You know what's worse? The only thing worse than one tree is two trees. So let's be brave. Let's be brave, because we can do anything on this piece of canvas. Anything. A little sap green right into that same color. I'm going to put a little base color in here. I need something for my little trees to set on. They're sort of just hanging out here in space. So same color with a little sap green in it, just to give it some dark so our light will show. Shoot, I'll use that little fan brush. I'm going to take it, a little dark sienna in it, and black, but mostly black. I want this to be sort of a gray color with just an indication of a little dark sienna in it. So, now, we can just go up here and touch, give it sort of a little round pull. Just touch. Don't want this to be too bright, because we have a pretty dark sky here. Pretty old dark sky. Just enough to show a little indication of light on this old tree. That's how we sort of separate them. But when you do this, pull it sort of round. By round, I mean like that. And once again, I'm exaggerating. But it'll give the tree sort of a round effect. Okay. See how easy that is? And then, let's take some paint thinner. And I'm going to go right into the midnight black. I want a lot of black color, but I want it to be very, very thin. Very thin, because you know our golden rule, a thin paint will stick to a thick paint. I've got paint all the way up, halfway up the handle of the brush here, but that's all right. It's all right. But the paint is very thin. And maybe there's some old palm leaves laying out here and blowing in the wind. This is the easiest way I've ever found of making them. Just use a very thin paint. Figure out basically where you want them to be, and then just give them a little pull. Something like so. There. What old palm trees had a rough time, hadn't they? There. Where I live, there's a lot of palm trees. They're gorgeous. Gorgeous trees. I like them. There, maybe there's just a little rascal's hanging up here. He's trying to make it. The wind's sort of blowing him around today. But he's doing all right. We'll have a big one out here. Maybe he goes clean off the canvas. Who knows? It's your world, so you make it any way that you want it. Another one out here. Maybe there's another one coming out through here. Out through there, wherever. These are going to be mainly silhouettes. Mainly a little sap green, a little white. And here and there you can just put the indication of a little, I don't want much. It's going to ruin that illusion of darkness. All right. Grab another fan brush, take a little yellow, a little sap green, put it right in here. Pretty dark. And let's put some little grassy areas down here at the foot. Pretty dark green color. A little dark sienna in it once in a while. Just to do like that. We can take a liner brush, a little bit of color, put in a few little things that hang like that, just to bring it together. And I think we have a nice little seascape done. It's very simple. I hope you try it, because this one will work for me. From all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend. Hi, certainly glad you could join us today. I thought today we'd just do a fun little painting. So let's start out and have run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with us. While they're doing that, let me show you what I got going up here. Standard old 18 by 24 inch pre-stretched canvas, but you use whatever size is convenient. Today I've taken and I put a little bit of just masking tape around the edges underneath here, and I covered the edges with a little bit of black gesso. Then I've just got some paper here to keep from painting on the black gesso. And we pull that out, we'll have a black border that goes all the way around this painting. Inside here, I've just covered the entire canvas with a very thin, even coat of the liquid white, as we normally do. And from there, let's just make something that's bright and shiny, has a lot of color. It's a fantastic day here, and I hope it is wherever you're at. So let's start. Let's start today. Maybe we'll lose just a touch of the Indian yellow. That's a very bright, nice yellow. A little bit on the 2-inch brush. And let's do something that looks like, let's go right up here. Something that looks like maybe a big sun shining through there. I don't know. Let's just start off and have some fun. There. Now, if you can do that, you can paint the rest of this painting. That's all there is to it. We'll go right into, without cleaning the brush, a little bit of cad yellow. And we'll just put that right around the edge. Next color I'll use, little yellow ochre. I'm not cleaning the brush in between these colors because I want them to mix anyway. Just a little yellow ochre. There we go. Now then. And then I'm sort of putting this on with little crisscross strokes because it gives you little fuzzy edges that are much easier to blend together than old harsh line. Something like that. Now then, I'm going to mix up an orange. And for that, I'll use a little cad yellow, a little the bright red. I want to make a nice orange color. Something like so. Let me clean off the old knife. We just wipe the knife on a paper towel. Still haven't cleaned the brush. I'm going to go right into that nice orange color and just bring it right on around. Whew, this is going to be a firecracker. There. I like these nice colors. If you do a painting with these colors, I tell you, it will certainly brighten up a dull room. There we go. Something about like that. All right, still haven't cleaned the brush. And we're just allowing these colors to blend together over here on the edges. Okay, just straight bright red. Now we're going to get into some beautiful colors. Right there. And see, we have color on the brush and we have color on the canvas, and there's liquid white under all of it. So it's continually mixing. None of it's going to end up as pure color. Okay. Now then. Still without cleaning the brush. Go into dark sienna. Still haven't cleaned the brush. And we'll just bring that right around the edge. Right around the edge, just like so. Just plain old dark sienna. Something about like that. But once again, these little crisscross strokes certainly make blending much, much easier. A little more of the dark sienna, put right up in here. Don't want that little corner left out. Okay. And we have a little hole left in the sky up there. We'll use just straight old Van Dyke brown right in there. All right. And that's basically all we're going to put in the sky as far as color goes. Now then, let's do the most fun thing in the whole technique. Wash the old brush. That's really where you take out your frustrations and your hostilities. Shake off the excess paint thinner and just beat the devil out of it. There we go. Now I'm just going to take a clean brush, dry as I can get it, and begin blending this. Just blend it, blend it, blend it, blend it. You want to blend it until you can't tell where one color starts and the next color stops. Just work it and work it and work it. And when you're doing this, I would recommend that you sort of step back from your canvas and take a look-see every once in a while. When you're as close to it as I am, it's very difficult to tell what something looks like. Step back and take a look-see. There. And then you can really tell what you have in your world. Okay. Now then, I think I'll wash the brush again. I just look for excuses to wash the old brush. Now, I want this to be even brighter. As I say, it's a fantastic day, and everybody here is feeling good, and I think we'll just make something that's, oh, it's shiny. So I'm going to take straight titanium white, start right here in the light area, and begin blending outward. It'll mix with all those beautiful colors, and it'll come brighter and brighter. And you can do this several times. Several times. I recommend you at least wipe your brush between each color, or even better, clean it. In the sake of time here, I'm just going back and not cleaning it, but I am wiping it in between. There we go. But boy, that rascal will shine now. Look at there. And we'll just go across to sort of take out the brush strokes and just blend everything together. Something about like that. Okay, down here, I'm gonna have some water. You know me, I love water. So we'll just take a little yellow and put right in here. A little tad yellow, a little touch of the yellow ochre. Just reflect a little of that color into the water. A little of the bright red. Doesn't much matter. There. Maybe even a little touch of the dark sienna. Just the basic colors that we had in the sky. A little more of the dark sienna right there. Something about like that. And a little bit of Van Dyke. The Van Dyke brown makes the edges darker. Helps lead the eye into the light area. Okay. Now then, wash the old brush again, and we can blend that out. This is a good one. If nothing else, it'll teach you how to wash the brush. There. I must admit, I just really like to do that. There we go. Okay, now we'll just blend it out a little bit. And as we decide what's in the foreground here, then we can add or subtract. Doesn't matter. Right at this point, we're just worried about a sky and putting some color down here where we know water's going to be. All right. I guess now we have to start making some big decisions in our world. Maybe, let me find a little fan brush. Maybe way back in the background here, let's take a little bit of dark sienna, put a little white in it, maybe at least a little touch of the bright red. Something like so. Just make a nice color like that. Let me wipe off the knife. There. We'll put a little of that on our little fan brush. Just load it up. You can use number 3 or the number 6 fan brush. It doesn't matter. Let's go right up in here. Maybe there's Well, maybe there's a little island back here. What the heck? Make up just little ideas, huh? Didn't matter. Just want to show the indication of something that's far, far away back here. Far away. There. We're not looking for a lot of detail. But now we want to have a reflection, so we'll pull a little bit of that color down too. Take our old brush, old 2-inch brush, grab that, give it a little downward pull, zip, go across. Gives us some instant reflections under there. And take a little bit of the liquid white, put it on the palette, least little touch of the bright red into it. Just to give it a little pinkish taste. Cut across, get our little bit of pink, lives right on the edge of the knife there. Then we can go up, and we'll just cut in a happy little waterline. Just a little separator. Just a little separator here. Now, if you ever do a waterline that you think is too bright, just clean your knife and go back and rub it, and it'll go away. It'll go away. You can rub it till it just totally disappears if you want to. Up to you. That worked pretty good. If it works good, let's do it again. Take that same color, except I want to add a little more of the dark sienna and maybe a little Van Dyke brown to it. Want to darken it slightly. As things get closer to you in a landscape, they should get a little darker. Okay? Now, maybe there's another little doer, little peninsula, whatever. It sticks right out here. This might be, maybe it's the half of another little island. I don't know. It's your world. You decide what it is. Just lift upward, make it look like little distant trees and stuff that are growing back here. Pull down. Once again, we need that reflection. If you ever paint a little projection out into the water like this and it doesn't look right, it looks like it's floating on top of the water, way above it, chances are it just needs a reflection underneath it, and that reflection causes it to set down into the water. There. Come across. Once again, our little reflection. We'll come back in here, take a little bit of that liquid white that we had, and we'll put another happy little waterline right in there. And you could make as many as these little islands or projections or peninsulas, whatever you want to call them, as you want. Or as few. Maybe you don't want any. It's up to you. Up to you. There's total freedom on this canvas. Here you can do anything that you want to do. Anything that you want to do. All right. Shoot. You know what? Maybe there's some more there. It's our world, and we can do it if we want to. I'm going to use that same color, only a little darker. I'm going to put a little alizarin crimson in it now. A little crimson. Ooh, that's nice. I like that color. So it's just basically the two browns, alizarin crimson, a little white. Let me wipe off the knife. We'll just keep using this old fan brush. It's working pretty good. So if it's working, as my father used to say, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. All right, and it's not broke. Let's go back up here. Maybe there's a big one like this, only big, it's closer. So we'll use the brush this way and just tap down. You know, I got a little piece of film I want to show you today. It's so fantastic. You know, I love animals, and I work with animals all over the country. I'm just going to be doing this while we're looking. And animals have a special affection for children. And my young friends love animals. This is my friend Paul. And he lives right outside of Orlando. And his grandmother is Carmen Shaw, who's one of the animal rehab people. This young man, he is so cute. And this little baby raccoon he has here, isn't he precious? Paul and I sat and talked for quite a while, and he told me a lot about animals. This young fella, since his grandmother has worked with animals for many years, he's grown up literally around these animals. He knows more about animals probably than I do. And he has a special thing. He's inherited his grandmother's, well, I don't know. I think animals know when people really like them and they trust them, and this young fella has that. But isn't he cute? There. See, all I'm doing is just putting up some indications here of some trees. I want a little more detail in these than I had back here, so I'm using the brush this way, sort of vertical. Now then, I need some mist in there. We'll just take a clean brush, 2-inch brush, and tap. And tap. You could even put a little touch of white paint, or a little white with maybe even a little yellow on your brush. Okay, let's do it. Let's do it. It's easier to show. Take a little cad yellow, a little white, and you could tap that in to create a nice misty effect back here. See how it looks like mist laying there already? And then gently lift up. It just takes out the little tap marks and sort of blends it together. Now then, once again, as you know, we want to set in the water, we have to put a little reflection under here. You have to decide where it lives and put a reflection. Go across. There. Isn't that neat? Now I think, let me grab another fan brush. I have several of them going here. I think maybe we need some trees that are even closer. By putting all these layers in your painting, or planes as they're called, it helps create that illusion of depth and distance in your world. I'm just using straight Van Dyke, dark sienna, and alizarin crimson. And we're just mixing them together here, like that. Maybe a little more crimson. I like that little reddish hue. Okay, let me wipe off this old knife. Just clean him off. Now, once again, back to the old fan brush, loaded full of color. A lot of paint. A lot of paint. Don't be afraid of getting too much color in there. Don't think you can do that. Let's go up in here. Maybe in our world there's a big, strong tree that lives right there. Notice that this tree is darker in color than the one behind it. So it stands out now. There. There he is. There he is. He lives right there. He's got a friend right there. Even trees need friends. And it's rare that you find just one tree growing in an area. Usually there's several little trees. You know how it goes. Little trees get together and pretty soon there's a whole mess of little trees. That's what makes them wonderful. We'll just let them get a little smaller so it helps create that illusion of going downhill there a little bit. Maybe this one's a little bigger. Don't have each one of them progressively getting smaller or progressively getting bigger, because trees do not follow the rules like we do. They grow however makes them happy. However makes them happy. It's like a lot of times in art, we're told that you have to have odd numbers of things. Now, artistically, that looks better. There's no question about that. It looks much better. But in nature, nobody ever told the trees that rule. So if you're painting a scene from nature and you want to have an even number of trees, it's your world. You can do whatever you want. There, we just take a little that dark color. Just put the indication here and there of a little trunk. It's the same exact color, but it shows up. A few little trees and stuff. Now then, when we got that old color going, I'm just going to add a little tiny bit of yellow ochre right on there. Just come back in here and there and here. We don't want much. A few little indications of some highlights. I want to keep this dark. Real dark, because that's what makes it stand out from what's behind it. Maybe we just take the old fan brush. That's working pretty good. Maybe there's just a nice little grassy area. It lives right underneath the trees. Just push up a little dark color. The dark color's there only so our light will show. You can't have light unless you have dark. That dark is what makes it show. Just like in life. You can't appreciate the good times unless you have a few bad ones. That's what makes us appreciate the good times when they happen. There. A few little reflections. Go across. Something like that. That's all we need. Tell you what. Maybe in our world, let me clean off my knife here. Maybe we back in the distance there, I'm going to use a small knife. Maybe there lives, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do something else first. Change my mind. And it's our world, we can do that. I want to put a little highlight on that grassy area. use a little yellow ochre, a little Indian yellow. Maybe even a little touch of the bright red now and then. See, that flattens it out. Makes it look more like there's like a little flat area. I think that looks a little better, don't you? There. Now then, back to our little knife. Maybe back here in our world, maybe there's just a little tiny, we can see way back a little tiny house. That's the reason I'm using a small knife. There's his little roof. Choop, choop. Don't want a lot of detail. He's too far away. Sits right out there on the edge of this gorgeous place. We'll put a few little grassy areas right around his foots. That's where I want to live, is right next to that water. I love water. I've always wanted to have a home right on the water. And maybe one day I will. There, but just a little highlight on the roof. Just enough to make him sparkle a little bit. Now, I don't want that little house to get lonely. Tell you what, maybe come right up in here. Maybe there's one that lives right here, too. He's a little closer, so he'll look a little bigger. There. And we can put as many or as few as we want in our world. Maybe this one's actually out in the water. Maybe he's on stilts. Maybe this is a little fishing village. Maybe we just keep making up things here. We'll have a whole group of things. I don't know. You just sort of let these things happen. Okay, want a village? There's another one. How many's in our village? I don't know. I'm just putting in some dark areas. Maybe there's another one there. Doesn't matter. Because in your world, you can do anything that you want to do. Just all kinds of little things. We'll take a little white, a little brown, a little bit of the alizarin crimson, yellow ochre. Just mix them together. I want some nice colors. Ooh, that's coming out. But I want to leave them marbled. So we put little highlights on the roofs. I guess that's a word, roofs. More than one roof. It'll separate them. Just some little, all kinds of little variations going on in there. I'm going to take some white and just black, just midnight black to make a nice gray color. Maybe some of them are gray up here. Ooh, I like that. And we can take the white, the gray, all those colors, just mix them together. Put all kinds of little sides on there. Come back with just a touch of color. Maybe you can make out a little window indication here and there. These are too far away to have a lot of detail, so don't worry about them. Don't worry about them. Maybe we said this, maybe these were on the little stilts, so we'll put the indication here and there, some little stilts that they're standing on. See there? It's just indications. Once again, too far away to worry about a great deal of detail. There. Now then, I want to reflect those stilts into the water, so I just grab them, pull them down, and that easy. That easy. Take a little bit of the liquid white and just make a little ripple here and there. Just little ripples. Tell you what, let's get crazy. Maybe right here. Ooh, I'm going to go right over the top of that. That's all right. We'll just go right over. Maybe there's a bigger one that lives right here. This one's sort of looking more toward us. Something about like that. Come back with our highlight color. Put a little edge right there. A little indication there. Come right down in here. There. Maybe there's a little walkway around there. I don't know. Make up little things. If it's out in the water, he's got to have a way to walk around his little building. Maybe there's a little door. How about a little window? We can do that too. It's our world. Little highlight around there. Maybe there's a few little posts that stick down in the water like that. Make them a little longer than they actually should be, because we're going to pull some of them down and turn it into reflections. See? Choo, choo. Then just go across just enough to wiggle it. There. Come on. Like that. just enough to put some little ripples here and there. Now, let's grab an old 1-inch brush. I'm going to go into the browns, crimson, little black, whatever. Maybe even a touch of the Prussian blue. Don't want much blue though, just a little blue. Just to darken it. Maybe there's some bushes that live right here. Just throw them in. At least a little bit of blue now. At least a little bit. All kinds of little things live right there. Take that same brush, go into some yellow ochre, Indian yellow, cad yellow. Just get some nice yellow. Put a few little highlights on these bushes. I use these colors, a little red too, just because they sort of match the sky and keeps everything together. There. Just a few little bushes live here. Maybe even there's a few posts out here. Bloop. There's another one, there's one, wherever you want them. Maybe one of them over here. There's some old posts that are still hanging around. A little bit of that brown and white. Just touch, give it a little pull, bloop, bloop. Something like so. A little bit of paint thinner. Maybe there's still an indication of some old, maybe there's some wires out here. I don't know. Whatever you'd like for it to be. Most of them are broke down, but there's still a few here and there. There and here. Now we have that old color. You can pull up a few old weeds and sticks. There, something like that. Now then, let's see if we can, let's take this off and see what we got. I'm just going to lay the palette down. I had a little paper here just to keep the black from getting messed up. We'll take that off, and then let's come in here. Take off this layer of tape. See, it sort of gives us a nice border that goes all the way around the painting. There. Just something like so. This is just plain, ordinary old masking tape. Nothing big. But isn't that neat? I like these little things done like that. Now watch. In our world, there's one more post, and it lives right out here. Something like so. I'm going to let it come right into the white so it shows up good. A little bit of highlight color. Let it just work right around like that. Take our little fan brush. Put a little dark right in there so it... A little bit of the yellow ochre, Indian yellow. Put a few little highlights on that rascal. Something about like that. Just to make it look like little grassy areas. Back to our liner brush. And let's take maybe this piece of wire here and bring it right on out, just like so. So it looks like it projects right on out of the painting. Isn't that neat? I think you'll like this one. Give it a try. Send me a photo of your attempt. I'd love to see it. From all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend. Hi, welcome back. Certainly glad you could join us today. I thought today maybe we'd just do a happy little desert scene, just something that is very calm and peaceful, and I think you'll enjoy it. So let's start out and have run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with us. While they're doing that, let me show you what I got going up here. I have my standard old pre-stretched double prime canvas. As usual, I'm using 18 by 24 inch canvas, but you use any size that's convenient for you. Today I've taken a little contact paper and cut an oval out and stuck it on. After I had the contact paper stuck on there, then I've just taken and covered the inside area here with a very thin coat of liquid white. So the canvas is all wet and slick and ready to go, so let's just do a fun painting today. I thought today we'd start with the old 2-inch brush. What the heck? Big old 2-inch brush. We'll put a little Prussian blue on there and a little black. We'll just mix them together right on the brush. So we have black and blue, or blue and black, depending on your preference. There. It's the way I look when I get home late. There we go. All right, let's just go right up in here And we'll just start like so, just using little X's. I'm holding the brush flat and making little X's. Let me get a little more color on the brush. There. Something about like so. We don't know. Maybe I'll have some long, stringy clouds in there, so we'll just leave some areas open. Then we'll come back and we'll fill those up with beautiful little clouds. Show you a very simple way of making some clouds that are fun and they're effective and you'll like them. There we go. Maybe a little back in here. Wherever, we don't care. Something about like that. All right. And now we come to my favorite time of the whole painting already. Let's wash the old brush. Because if you've painted with me before, you know that may be the highlight of the painting. All right, we just scrub it right against the screen in the bottom of the can with odorless thinner in the can. Shake off the excess. And we just cover everybody in the studio. And with a clean brush, just going to quickly go across that, just remove any excess paint. Now then, I'm going to take a little touch of yellow ochre, a little yellow ochre, and go right into the titanium white. Just load some color in the bristles. Okay, let's go back up here. And today I'm just going to tap in happy little cloud. Just take the brush and just tap. Just tap. Just think about some shapes that you'd like to have in your world and tap them in. No big deal. Easy. Easy. You can do this. Anybody can do this. There we go. In our newsletter, we just featured a lady who was in her 90s and just beginning to paint. Isn't that fantastic? There's no age barriers in this. Anybody can do it. All right. We're just tapping in some happy little clouds. That's all. Maybe there's one that lives right about there. Just basically wherever you think one should live. That's exactly the right place for it. Okay. And that's all we need. Now we're taking clean the old brush again. There. Probably just want to clean the brush again. I'll look for excuses. There. Shake it off. And there we go. Now then, very lightly, just graze the canvas, because you can always add more pressure, and begin blending this. And automatically, beautiful little clouds will just appear. And you can pull them, because there's liquid white on the canvas, it's wet. You can pull these clouds around. You can move clouds in your world. That easy. See there? Never knew you had that much power. But on this piece of canvas you do. When you go home, you may be like me. You have no power at all. But here you can do anything. Anything. All right. Okay. Let's take the knife, take a little Prussian blue, a little alizarin crimson, mix them together. I'll make a lavender color, but I want it to the blue side. When you make lavender out of these two colors, you can have it to the red side or the blue side. Sometimes you need to put a little white paint out there and check it out. See if that's what you want or not. That's pretty good. Let's use that. Shoot, I like that. Okay. Cut off our little roll of paint. It lives right out on the edge of the knife. Let's go right up in here. And we have to make some major decisions already. Where in the world do our little mountains live? Where do they live? Here they are. There. See? And these are going to be far away. I'm not looking for a lot of detail in these. In fact, I'm looking for almost no detail. Because detail indicates closeness. And I don't want them to look close. I want them to look far away. Maybe something about like that. How's that? And the only thing you're worried about at this point is a nice top edge. You could care less what's happening in here. It makes no difference. In fact, I'm scraping very firmly, trying to get off all the excess paint. There we go. Let me go back to our old 2-inch brush. And I just want to grab this and just blend it out a little bit. Just a little. There. Just blend it out. Because that's basically all I'm going to do in these little distant mountains. Once again, I don't want them to get ate up with too much detail. I want to keep them very soft, very far away. Just brush strokes, so it will create the illusion of detail, but you've done nothing. Shh, That's our secret. That's our secret. Now then, let's take a tiny bit of that white, and it had yellow ochre in it. Maybe I'll add just a touch more yellow ochre. So we got white and a little yellow ochre. I want to create mist down here. So I'm just going to take a little of that and rub it. Just rub it. See, just sort of let it play around in there. That old knife will just do wonderful things if you just allow it to. Don't be afraid of it. Don't be afraid of it. See there? Now, you may not see a lot of that yet, but when we're finished, that'll come out to look like a nice, soft, misty area. There. Something like so. See there? And you have to decide how far up your mist lives and how bright it is, how quiet it is. It's up to you. Up to you. Because in your world, you can create any illusion that you want. Any illusion. There. Okay. Now that'll give us a little background mountain, one that's far away. Not much going on in its world. I'm going to take some more blue and crimson. I just didn't mix up enough before. Same color. Same identical color. There we go. Now, cut off our little roll of paint, just like we had. And let's go back up here. Come right up in here. Let's start right in here, and maybe this comes up. We're going to have a big, strong mountain that lives in the foreground. We'll put a little more detail in that rascal, because he's closer to us. Unlike the one that lives far away, that we don't want detail in. This one, we'll have a little more detail in. Maybe like that. Well, that's a nice old mean-looking mountain. Shoot, I tell you what, maybe he had a good day. Maybe he got even stronger. It went way up to the top here. Way up to the very top. It's up to you. See? Just change your mind if you want to. You can put your mountain anywhere you want, any shape you want. In this technique, we don't do any drawing, any tracing. We just we learn to create as we paint. That may be the beauty of this. There we go. We learn to create as we paint the scene. Maybe this goes, who knows? Maybe it comes all the way across. If you want it to come all the way across and be some little rolling hills back here, maybe on this end, you can do that. We just take the knife and rub that too. There. Wipe off the excess paint. You can do entire paintings using nothing but the knife, and they're gorgeous. Some of the earlier series, we've done 1 or 2 paintings using the entire knife. It's a little harder to do in the time frame that we have, but you can do it. You really can do it, and it's gorgeous. I do a lot of them when I'm at home, using nothing but the knife. See, if you want to put another layer, I get carried away doing this. If you want to put another little layer in there, you just put a little more paint on. Decide where that next layer lives, and we'll just rub it a little bit too. Like that. I've had people tell me over and over again, I bet your house is full of paintings. You know, it's funny. Most artists, I think, are like me. They sort of pick their own paintings apart. Every time I walk by it, I see something that in my mind I think I could have done better, or it's not exactly what I wanted. So in my own home, I hang other people's paintings. I have paintings that people have sent me. I have paintings that some of our instructors have done. I even have a couple of paintings my son Steve done, which are very, very special to me. There. And I have a lot of paintings by very close friends and associates. Annette Kowalski, my partner, she does the most gorgeous flowers you've ever seen. I have some of her paintings hanging around. In fact, Annette's doing her first book on flowers now, which will be out soon. I think you'll really enjoy that, because she can paint some flowers. Whew. I'm going to get her on the show here one day and get her to show you what she can do. Because I'm not much of a flower painter, but she paints them well enough for both of us. There. I'm just taking off some of this excess paint. I want this to remain very dark, though. And we can take a big brush and wipe it. That, too, will remove paint. We're going to put some highlights in there. So the more of this paint that you can remove, the easier it is to make the next layers stick, but yet I don't want to lose this dark value. It's important to me. It's very important. Okay, let's mix this up a little highlight color. And for that, let's use some dark sienna. Oh, we'll put some bright red in there. Some bright red. Let's put a little white. Shoot, maybe even a little crimson here and there. I want some yellow ochre. Well, we got a mess going there, don't we? You just sort of piddle around till you find a color that you like, and I like that. So we cut off our little roll of paint, and we go back up here, and now we just begin picking out little things that will make our mountain look special. And today I'm just going to sort of touch it and sort of just rub the knife on there a little bit. Just rub it out. Normally I would pull it down, but today I'm just going to sort of rub the knife on there just to create all kinds of little things. There we go. Something like so. Add a little white to some of it so it'll be a little bit brighter, and then you can take and pick out the areas that you think that light would strike as it zings across there and has a good time. There. I don't want this to get too bright though. Don't want it to get too bright. Okay, in fact I'm going to sort of fuzz the edges right out. There. All right. Okay. Just something about like that. There. Maybe it comes all the way down. I don't know where it goes yet. We'll make that decision pretty soon. But right now, we don't really much care. We don't really much care. Okay, mix up a little more color, about to run out. And maybe out in here. There it comes. Just let that flow right down the side there. And we just let it sort of disappear off into to Never Never Land. Right there. Only right there. Now then. Okay. I'm going to take some of that dark color that we had, and I want to retain this nice dark edge. Maybe it comes over and down and just disappears back here. But that dark edge is our separator. It's our good friend. Don't lose it. Don't lose it. See there? That's what separates. Pushes it back. Pushes him back. And you can put a little highlight or two here and there, wherever you think they should live. There. Deserts are fantastic places. There's a lot of fantastic wildlife in there. For example, there's a lot of cougars and big cats. And recently, I had an opportunity to spend a little time with a big old kitty cat that I think is just absolutely gorgeous. This kitty belongs to Carmen Shaw, and the cat was given to her where she actually found it. I'll tell you that story in a minute. And all of Carmen's friends have named this beautiful cat Carmen after her. Now this was a kitty that somebody had purchased as a pet, and the little kitty turned into a great big cougar, grew up, and they decided they didn't want it anymore. So they put it in a little kennel cage, and they took it out and they left it in the woods to die. And when Carmen got this thing, it was just about dead. She worked with it for a long time, and she saved it. And this is one of the most beautiful animals God's ever created. Isn't he gorgeous? I can't imagine anybody hurting something like that. But I'm sort of strange. I like all these critters anyway. All right. But I love that big old kitty. I'm going to take a little sap green, a little yellow, maybe put a little yellow ochre and a little brown there to dull it down some. Ooh, I like that. And maybe in our world here, I'm going to just start laying a little color in. We do this. We'll just do a little of this with a knife. You could put it in with a brush or a knife. I want to just put the indication that there's some little things happening back here at the base of this mountain. We don't know exactly what they are. Some little green things that are growing right back in here. Don't want them too bright though. Don't want them to be distracting. Just some little things. There. Just have to wipe the knife off every once in a while. But all I'm doing is just rubbing the knife, just rubbing it. You see there? I say you could take the 1-inch or 2-inch brush and you could lay these in much faster. But I like this effect. It's very soft, very misty. You just sort of don't know where edges start and stop here that way. Just very pretty. Very pretty, but we all have individual tastes, so you do it however makes you happy. A little of that mountain color right here, we'll just blend that down in here too. What the heck? Shoot, here and there we might even hit a little of that lavender that we used in the base of the mountain. Just to sort of, so all the tones come together. It's your world, so you decide. Got to make big decisions. That's a responsibility that comes with painting. There. We're speaking of big cats. Yesterday I had the opportunity to go to one of the most fantastic zoos I've ever seen. And it's right outside of Muncie here where we filmed the show, and it's called Me Zoo. And Me stands for Max and Eileen, the people who started it. And they have a lot of very exotic animals, beautiful animals. But what makes this zoo so special, I think, is the fact that they devote their whole life to sharing this fantastic zoo with other people, especially handicapped children, the elderly, people who are very sick. And it's all free to them. Every bit of it's free. These two fantastic people have literally spent everything they have to create this zoo, and they give it away. And that's what makes it so special. You can find a zoo anywhere in the country, but you can't find people like this. And you know what makes it more special than anything else? Max has a terminal illness, and this is how he has chose to spend the rest of his life, is helping other people through his animals. That's what makes it so special. So if you're ever around the Muncie or Indianapolis area, stop by and say hello, tell him I sent you. There. Okay. Maybe in our world, let me clean off my knife. Tell you what, let's do. Let's take the old filbert brush. What the heck? I'll go into a little bit of the Van Dyke Brown, pick up a little black, put in there with it. Shoot, dark sand too. We don't care. Whatever you get. And maybe back here, maybe there's some old cactus. If we're going to do a desert scene, we need to have an old cactus. There he is. This old filbert brush, it makes the right shape pretty easy. Maybe he's got another arm right there. 2 or 3 of them right close together. There's one. How many cactus you have in your painting, that's up to you. Let's give that one a little arm. Shoot, like that. Another one right there. That'll give us a few. You can just take this old filbert, push upward. We'll make the indication of some little bushes that live far back there. See there? Just push them in. Just push them in. Just sort of like you're putting foam on an ocean if you painted oceans with me. I just take that same brush, go into the yellows, Indian yellow, cad yellow, yellow ochre, a little bit of blue with it. That'll make a gorgeous green or a little sap green. And then let's just put a few little highlights here and there. Just a few. Want them to stay sort of muted though. I don't want them real bright. There. Isn't that neat? These are far away, so we're not seeing a lot of detail now. Just enough to make them stand out. Leave some of them totally dark. Don't cover them all up with highlights. Sometimes it gets feeling good and you don't know when to stop. I have that trouble all the time. So, there. Tell you what, we got a little lavender left right here. Let's just put some little doers like this back here with a knife. Some little rock formations maybe that are far back in there. Whatever. Just sort of, you expect this if you're painting little pictures from Arizona, New Mexico, and all those gorgeous areas. There, something about like so. That's good enough. We'll take some of that nice, this was the color I used to highlight the mountains. And maybe right under here, we can begin applying just a little bit of sand color. Something like that. There we go. See there? I'm going to take a little white. It's got a little yellow ochre in it. Not much, just a little. mostly white, and just begin putting in some highlights right on that. Barely grazing it. Barely grazing it. See there? Just to make it look like, sand and rocks and all those things that are out there. Shoot, we don't know where it goes. Don't know that we care. Wherever it wants to go. It's just right. Just right. Shoot, I like making them cactus. Let's make another one. Black, browns, both browns and blacks is all I used in here. And maybe we have a big old cactus in our world. Yep, we do now. And he lives right there. Just using the old filbert. The old filbert brush. Give him an arm. Doop. Maybe he's got a friend. Lives right there with him. Who knows? Maybe he's got 2 friends. He's a popular little cactus. Shoot, maybe he's got a party going on here. Who knows? As I say, make up little stories when you paint. Shoot, that's what makes it fun. I'm going to take a little of that green color and just come down here and just go right over it so it has a little green flavor to it. You can just make a little cad yellow, little sap green. There we go. Just something like so. Now then, we'll take some more of that. This is basically that lavender color I was using. And maybe there's some little bushes and stuff that live right along in here. Maybe there's a big bush lives right there by the cactus. That'd be a good place to live. Under this old cactus, there'd be a multitude of wildlife that lives in it. So it'd be a good place to see some beautiful scenes right there. Right there. Now then, take a little bit of our yellow ochre, cad yellow, little sap green, and let's come back in here and just pop in a few little highlights. I'm still using a little filbert. Today I'm just using a little filbert, but you use whatever brush works well for you. I'm liking it today. I'm going to get a little of that bright red in there too. Heck, I got to have a little sparkler here and there. Deserts have some gorgeous color in them sometime. It's like God had his paintbrush out and he just went crazy with color. You ever seen the desert after it comes a rain and everything lights up? Just lights up. That's got to be the most gorgeous, gorgeous thing. There, let's take a little, that blue and white, put in here. There, maybe there's a little bush. It's about that color in there. I like that. I like that one. I like that one. Let's take a little bit of our soil colors, dirt color, whatever you want to call it. Put right under here. Something like that. Just need this dark so our light will show up on top of it. Look at there. Now then, let's take a little, we'll use some more yellow ochre and white. I like that one. Put a little of that in there. This painting has a lot of color in it. I didn't know it was going to have that much color when I started it, but now I like it. I like that. All right. Okay, let's go back into, we had some nice lavender color we was using here. Pop in another little bush. Maybe it lives right there. Let's put one on the other side too. Maybe there's one right in there. I don't know. If you think there should be one there, then there should be. We go back to our greens, little sap green, yellow ochre. Put a little of that here and there, like so. Clean off the old brush. I know I won't go back to that blue and white. I like that blue and white. It's a cool color amongst all these warm colors, so it sort of stands out. There, a little bit more of that. There, see it? It's just a nice, refreshing, cool little area in your painting. Now we'll just take the old knife. Let me clean it off. It's dirty. And just blend these areas together here, where they come together, something like so. There. Shoot, I think we're ready to take the contact paper off and see what we got. It looks pretty cute. So let's grab a hold of it, give it a little pull, and look at that. Isn't that a fantastic little scene? And it's very simple to do. You can do it. Take a little bright red, a little paint thinner, right on the liner brush, and I think we'll sign this little painting. We'll sign it right here, because we can sign it anywhere we want. There we go. Since I have a very short name, it's no problem just to stick it right in there. And with that, I think we have a finished painting. I really hope you've enjoyed this one. Give it a try. I'd love to hear from you and know how you do with it. From all of us here, happy painting, and God bless, my friend. Hi, welcome back. Certainly glad you could join us today because here we are, the last show of the 25th series. So I thought today we'd just do a little painting. It's a lot of fun and I think you'll enjoy it. So let's start out and have them run all the colors across the screen that you need to paint along with us. While they're doing that, let me show you what I got done up here. I have my regular old 18 by 24 inch pre-stretched double prime canvas, but you use any size that's convenient for you. And I've covered the entire canvas today with just a very thin, even coat of the liquid clear. So it's all wet and slick and it's ready to go. So let's just do a fun little painting today. I thought maybe I'd do one today just using the old 2-inch brush basically and a few nice colors and just sort of let it happen. Just sort of let it happen. We'll take a little bit of the Prussian blue, very little. When you're using this liquid clear, you use very little paint normally, very little. Okay, let's go up in here. Now maybe we'll just take that blue and we'll just dance in just a happy little sky. Takes very little color though. Very little color. It'll almost look like a wash when it's done. There. Maybe I'll add a little black to my brush and blue. A little blue and black and yeah, just change the flavor a little bit here and there. There. Maybe we'll do a little winter scene today and for that I'll make it just a little grayer. But on the other hand, let's add a little crimson and make it sparkle a little bit. This piece of canvas truly is your world, and in your world, you paint anything you want. You use any colors that you want. Just whatever makes you happy. There, just something like that. Now this is a very, very transparent color on top of the clear. But if you wanted to make the indication of maybe a happy little cloud up there, you could just take the corner of the brush, a very small amount of titanium white, for example, and just spin in using top corner, just spinning, round and around and around, just like so, and create the illusion of just maybe a happy little cloud shape. It's far, far away. Just barely can see it. And it just sort of floats around there and has a good time. Something about like that. All right. And maybe... Okay, tell you what, let's make us a nice brown color. We'll use some alizarin crimson and sap green in about equal proportions. I think this is one of the nicest browns made. I like making brown out of these two colors. There we go, because you can sort of take it to the reddish side or the green side, depending on the mood or what you're trying to achieve in your painting. Okay, let me wipe the old knife off there. We just wipe the knife on a paper towel. That brush seems to be doing okay. We'll just keep using it. Tap just a very small amount of that, very, very small amount into the bristles like so. I'm just tapping in the top corner, okay? Now maybe, might even wipe off any excess. I want very little color, that's good. Maybe wipe it a little more. I want very, very little color in here. I want to just make an indication of just a happy little tree that lives far, far back here in the distance, far away. There. Don't want a lot of detail, too far away. We're just going to put some very gentle little shapes. Just barely can make out what they are. They're too far away. There we go. Something like so. Now, sometimes it's nice when you're using this clear to give the indication of light coming through. So for that, I'm going to take a little Indian yellow, a little yellow ochre. Once again, very, very small amount of paint. And down in here, I'm just going to tap some of this. I'm going to have some trees in here. And this hopefully will come out looking like maybe there's some backlight coming through there. You could also do this using white just so with a little bit of yellow acrylic in it. and put it on before you start the painting. But today I thought we'd just do it this way. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Maybe we'll put a little sky up in here too. What the heck? Well, I got that old brush. Maybe some of that'll show through. I'm not sure exactly where we're going to have trees and where we're not. So we'll just put a little color on the canvas in case. Now then, I'm going to use all kinds of alizarin, crimson, a little touch of black, but once again, I can't say it enough. I'm using such a small amount of paint. It's almost not worth talking about. It's so small. There we go, and change the flavor a little bit so it stands out there. Very, very small amount of paint. There. I want this to be very soft, almost like a watercolor. Sometimes I like to do oil paintings that have a watercolor look to them. And this is one of the ways that we do them. Okay. All kinds of things. Maybe over here, a little more of that brown that we made. And we just tap in indication of a little bush. And we just let them fade right on down to nothing. Right on down to nothing. And when you do your painting, you may want it to be a little brighter, a little stronger. It's up to you. Show you a little trick here. This is fun. Take a liner brush, shake off all the excess paint. You might even wipe it on a paper towel. And then very lightly just touch the canvas, and we'll make the indication of all kinds of little sticks and twigs just with a clean brush. And that paint thinner on there reacts with the liquid clear, and you can make all these things using nothing. It's just removing paint. Sometimes we apply paint, sometimes we remove it, depending on what we want to accomplish. It takes a minute for it to come up, but look at there. See? Wherever you think there should be one, that's the right place. And if you want to make it look like a watercolor painting, sometimes you can also take a fan brush, put some paint thinner on it, shake off all the excess thinner. Just really shake it off. Then go up here and flick it. Just flick a little paint thinner right on to that color. And once again, the paint thinner and the liquid clear will have a violent reaction, and you'll get all these gorgeous little things right in there. Maybe we'll flick even a little up here. You decide where you want it. Something like so. I like to put it right down at the base of all these trees and bushes and stuff. And I sort of like that effect. And you can work in layers when you're doing that. You can put some in and put a layer underneath it and just keep working layer after layer. It helps create that illusion of depth and distance in your painting. And to me, that's what makes your painting special. Maybe there's another little tree that lives right here, wherever. There we go. This is a nice way of making the indication of little trees and bushes if you've had problems making them any other way. Because here, all you do is add a little color to the top of your brush and just tap. And they almost happen automatically. There we go. Maybe this is a winter scene. Let's have some nice snow in here. I like to do winter scenes sometimes that have a lot of warm colors in them. Winter scenes can get so cold, you almost have to wear a coat to work on them. So let's take an old fan brush, a little bit of the titanium white. Maybe I'll put a little touch of the Prussian blue in there, just to blue it down. See there? But just a little. I want it to look like maybe there's a little tiny bit of shadow. That's enough. Let's go up in here. And then we can take an old brush and go back in here and begin picking out areas that we're looking for. That easy. Gonna lift up so it just disappears back here. See there? Just worked right around that bush. You can just put things wherever you want them. Just lift it up, lift up. That easy. There. Ooh, that looks sort of cold already. Sort of cold already. There we go. Wherever you think these things should be. Let's take a little blue, a little black, put some white in it. Don't want it too strong. Blue and black. And maybe right in here, I'll do something about like that. But notice we're curving these strokes. Curving them. It'll go right on off like that. And what I'm doing, I want to make maybe the indication of a little bank here. Like maybe there's a little stream that lives right in here. Maybe it's all frozen. And all we can see is this little area right here. There. See? Something like so. Now we can go back to our white. Put in all kinds of little things. And you could do this with a 2-inch brush if you wanted to. I'm just using a little fan brush because it happens to be available. Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. There we go. Put a little more titanium white on the brush. We can come right up to the edge here. Maybe occasionally it slides over. See there? Just like so. And down in here we need a little bit of the white color. Something like that. But that'll help create that illusion that maybe there's a little frozen bank right there. Something like that. These little paintings are a lot of fun. They're good paintings to just sit down and experiment with. You know, we did one painting in this series. It sort of turned out to have an oriental look to it, where we just sat down and we started playing and just working with color. These little paintings here you can do the same way. Don't be afraid to experiment. That's really where the fun of painting comes in, the joy of painting. It's in learning new things and experimenting, doing things that you've never done before. That's what's fun. Maybe there's some little areas right in here somewhere. I don't know. Just put a little blue on there and bring the white right up to it. Like that. And it'll look like there's a little indentation there. That easy. That's sort of sneaky, but it works very well. Works very well. All right. Let's go back and play with some more trees. They're a lot of fun. I'm going to go back into that nice brown that I made from the sap green and the alizarin crimson. Just tap a little color right onto the brush. There you can see it. Very little color. Very little. I know you get tired of hearing that. But if I don't say it too much, I'm afraid you're going to sock a big bunch of dark color up here and be very unhappy with me, because it takes such a small amount of color to create this particular illusion. Sometimes you want to create other illusions and you do use more color. But today, I'm trying to create softness. Take a little blue and a little crimson, mix it together. We'll make a little lavendery color. Let me wipe off all that excess again. I don't want much color. Maybe we have the indication right here of another little tree. Another little tree lives right there. There we go. I like doing all these little trees and bushes. That really is some of the most fantastic things, because I know there's all kind of little creatures that live. I got to show you one more little feller. Shoot, we've showed you several animals in this series. I want to show you one more little fella that I think you'll just love. This is a little baby raccoon, just a tiny little thing. But I think he's one of the neatest little characters. I'm just painting his tree while we're watching that. I think he's just absolutely darling. There. By the time you see this, though, he's probably going to be grown and long gone, because it doesn't take too long for these little devils to grow up. They grow up quite rapidly. And then we turn them loose, because God intended for them to be free, and I believe that's where they should be. All right. Now then, let's take an old fan brush with just a little paint thinner on it. I want to flick it again, like that. Just right down here at the base of that. Let all those little things just happen. Watch them. That's exciting when that happens. It just turns me on to watch all that. I like that. See? And as you let the camera stay there just a second and watch what happens. See them? They just keep coming and coming. And you can do this and make great big ones or little ones. You can make them even run sometimes, and that's very pretty. That's good. Thank you. There. Now then, let's go. I'll take a little bright red and put into my titanium white, just to give it a little pinky flavor, but I don't want to set it on fire. Don't want to set it on fire. And we'll put a little touch of snow that lives right in here. There, just lift it upward. Something about like that. There we go. I just take and lift it up because it just blends it together. And you can't tell where one stops and the next one starts. But very, very soft. This is a very gentle painting. Very soft. Okay, let me grab the old brush. Let's make another little layer. I'm having fun making all these. But notice that we complete one layer in this painting at a time and then come forward. Do one layer at a time, work forward. Always working forward. Maybe right in here. Yep, you're right. Lives another happy little tree. Just a little bushy devil. There he is. Wasn't that little raccoon cute? I work with a lot of the rehab people all over the country. And these little creatures are so important. I just think you're so much fun to work with and to enjoy. And maybe the greatest pleasure of all is after you've raised one up and he's doing well. If he was orphaned, he's grown. If he was hurt, he's repaired. And the greatest pleasure is when you turn him loose and you see him go. Sometimes, I'm a big old softy, so sometimes that's a little hard for me to do because I sort of get attached to these rascals. But you have to remember, I'm going to take a little cad yellow. Oh, that's bright. That's nice. You have to remember once again, that's where God meant for them to be. Out there playing in the bushes and the trees and all that. They don't do well if you make pets out of them because they don't make very good pets. Even raccoons, as cute as they are when they're little, usually when they grow up, they get a little mean. So we let them go before they get that mean. Because when they get mean, then they're ready to take care of themselves. They don't need our help anymore. There. Okay. But look at all the different layers of planes, if you want to call them such, in this painting. That's what creates that illusion of depth and distance in it. I'm going to take a little phthalo blue. I keep saying phthalo blue. I meant Prussian blue. I don't have any phthalo blue in this painting. Prussian blue. You could use phthalo blue if you wanted. A little bit on brush. Let's go up here. I just wanted in this particular painting a little colder blue. I'll put a little blue right in here just to make some shadows with. Then we'll come back with just white and go right back over it. And then those shadows then will be underneath. Isn't that neat? But work back and forth between blues and some of your little pinks and whatever. You can just do all kinds of wonderful things. Painting is so much fun. It really is one of those things that it's a lot of fun. There. And I think only nice people paint. Annette and I have traveled for many years. Annette's my partner. She travels with me all over the country, and we do a lot of shows for PBS stations around the country and even in some foreign countries. And I have never met a person who paints that's not a very nice person. So I think it goes with what you're doing. And maybe I'm just very prejudiced. I don't know. I just think nice people paint. I'm going to put an indication here and there of a little stick and a twig, using just a clean brush with paint thinner on it. Don't want these to stand out too much, just here and there. And they'll continue to work for a little while after you go away. See, that one's getting bigger and bigger as you sit there and watch it. All you're doing is removing paint. You're removing paint. And we can take a little paint thinner with a little brown on it. And here and there we can bounce in some that are a little darker. I don't want them too dark. No, I want them too dark. Keep them light. There. Take a little of that brown we made, put a little paint thinner with it. And maybe back here there's an old tree. What's left of an old tree? Got to make those little noises to get the crooks and the hurts and the pain that's in this old tree, because he's had a hard life. He's had a hard one. Times were tough when he was just a little guy. There. Poor thing. But he's okay now. There. Little old squirrel lives up here in his limbs, and they get along fine. There. See? Got a little tree in there now. Get a little more white on the brush. Reach right up here and grab a little of that. Pull it out. So there's some snow right around his foots. Right around his foots. Maybe back in here, just here and there, you can make out a few more little things. don't want these to be too dark. I want them to be just almost hidden back here. But they're there. They're there. All right, you know me. It's time. If you painted with me very long, you know I like big trees, and this being the last show of this series, we should not end without having at least one big tree. Let's take some Van Dyke Brown, put on your bravery suit, and let's see where you're at today. Because we're going to put us a big tree right here. Using Van Dyke Brown, a little dark sienna, I'm just sort of mixing them together. Using the old filbert brush today. I think we'll do really a rough tree. This one has really had a tough life. When he was little, maybe a big deer came through here, big buck, and stepped right on him, hurt him. Really put some crooks in his back. Whatever. There we go. Give him some big foot. He needs a big old foot to stand out here. Take all this abuse he's getting. There we go. See? I had a letter from a psychiatrist one time, and he said I had really lost it. I had even given the trees arms and foots. And I wrote him back and told him, yeah, I had. But it was my world. And everything in my world was happy. And if I wanted my trees to have arms and foots, that was okay. There. But I got several letters from him. Very nice gentleman. And he finally agreed with me. If I wanted arms and foots on my trees, he said, I guess that's okay. But in his world, he had a little more sanity than I did. He didn't have arms and foots on his. There we go. I'm just putting on some low old limbs that live out here. Boy, these are tough-looking old rascals. But I like a tree with character. I get tired of just trees that are straight and standing tall and telephone companies out looking for them. I like trees that really look like they've had some interesting things happen in their life. There. And animals all like these kind of trees because they have good places to hide. All right. We'll just take a little snow, bring it right down from the foot here. Maybe we'll take it right up like that. Something like so. Okay, a little bit of blue just to make a little shadow. Goes right into there, like that. Let's take a knife, mix up a little brown. That's a little dark sienna, a little Van Dyke, a little white. Mix them together. Doesn't matter. I'm going to wipe off this brush. We'll just keep using that filbert for the time being. I'm just going to let it barely touch and graze. And put the indication here and there of all kinds of things. Now, when this dries, this paint is very thick. You can actually feel this bark on here. See it? There. See, just let the brush bounce and play, barely touch. Some of these limbs will come right on out, some it won't. Depends on which side of the tree you put them on. It's up to you. You can put them anywhere, any way that you want them. Boy, that's a ragged-looking old tree, isn't it? That's so rough, I don't even know if my squirrel could climb it. Yeah, he could. I still have Squirrely Girly Brown. Squirrely Girl, who's lived with me for several years. I'm going to make a little fence, I think. All right, come right here. There's a little post. Squirrely Girl, the veterinarians have told me, has epilepsy and can never be released. They told me about 2 years ago that she would only live for 6 more months. And you know what? Squirrely didn't know that. She's still hanging in there. And she's doing fine. I'm going to make this fence. There. Comes right around like that. And maybe be on that side. And maybe over here. Maybe this one comes right on off. This is one of them that goes around. Whoops, we didn't make that one go all the way through. It'd fall off. We can take a little white. I'm going to put a little liquid white with it just to make it a little thinner. We can come along in here, put the indication of some nice snow things that are hanging around up in here. There. You could do this with a liner brush if you have trouble controlling a brush this big. It is a little easier. But I got using this today, so whatever, doesn't much matter. Boy, that's a rough-looking old fence, too. There, I like paintings, though, that have character, style to them like this. A little bit of that blue and white. Put some snow under this old tree's foot. There. If you pick up a little of that color, that's just wonderful because it will create the illusion of shadows in there, and that's what we're looking for. We're looking for some shadows in our world. There. Like that. All right. Now then, something about like so. Maybe we'll take our little script liner brush, a little bit of that brown color, and maybe there's some weeds and grassy little things that grow all out in here. Because if this guy, he probably took care of his fence about like I do mine. He let the weeds just about eat it up. You can take a little fan brush. We'll use number 3. It doesn't matter though. Pop in a few little bigger weeds wherever you think they should be. And you can put all kinds of little details in here. It's up to you. You have to make these big decisions. You have to decide where all these little things live. There's some more. See there? And you just drop them in. A few more little twigs and sticks. Big old bush lives right there. Shoot, I think we're about down to where we have a painting we can sign. We'll take a little red. We'll sign this one right down here. And with that, I'd like to bring this series to a close. And I'd like to thank you very, very much for being with us during this entire series, and I hope to see you again very soon. We've already started the next series, and I look forward to painting with you in the future. And from all of us here, I'd like to wish you happy painting, and God bless, my friend.
This program is brought to you by a grant from Northlight Books, publisher of over 200 how-to books and videos for fine artists and graphic designers, and by the Martin F. Weber Company, manufacturers of a wide range of fine artist materials and exclusive U.S. distributor of Whatman watercolor and printmaking papers.